Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. Our first guest is Dr. David Villarreal. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Very close, yes.
Very close. Why don't you give me the...
Villarreal.
Villarreal. Dr. Villarreal is a practicing dentist who is a progressive dentist and a graduate of one of the local schools. What school did you go to here?
Undergraduate, I went down the street at Loyola Marymount University, and then from there I went to USC Dental School.
Right. And you're practicing now where?
I have a practice in Newbury Park, California, which is in the Thousand Oaks area.
Very good. And also you have some new products that I see in the natural food stores around town, including the Lasson's that is selling very well. And you have a toothpaste and you have a mouth rinse. Now, what makes you exactly a holistic dentist? Is that a good term for you?
I like to use the word biological dentist.
Biological, better.
Because what we try to do is place materials in our patients' mouths that is not going to suppress their immune system. The word holistic, it means that something's non-toxic. In dentistry, there isn't anything that's non-toxic, but there's different degrees of toxicity. So we try to place, via blood compatibility test, something that is not going to suppress their immune system as much.
Now, when you say things suppress the immune system, I think most of the viewers, their ears would kind of perk up a little bit. You're saying that like silver amalgam fillings are problematic and you keep them out of your office, is that it?
Yes. Silver mercury fillings are very toxic because it contains more than 50% mercury in the amalgam. People don't even know that they actually have mercury. They just say, oh, I just have silver fillings. Mm-hmm. But in actuality, it's over 50% mercury. And it's got copper, tin, zinc. Also, a lot of porcelain crowns. People don't think that they have metal, but they actually have a nickel base. And nickel is a carcinogen. So in my practice, I also have a partner, Dr. Blanche Gruby. What we try to do is educate the patient, and then it's up to them to decide what they want to do. When we do remove these heavy metals, we take all the precautions for ourselves, our staff, and for our patients, because you can't just remove them and feel that everything's going to be fine. There are definite certain protocols for the safety of the patient's health and for our health.
In other words, as a dentist, if let's say you were a conventional dentist using a lot of silver amalgam fillings, which are half mercury, mm-hmm. then that mercury would also outgas into your office. And if you were doing 10 or 12 of those a day, then you'd be exposed to a lot of mercury over your professional career.
Very much so. We are actually the Mad Hatters of this century. We end up with tremors. We have dentistry has a high suicide rate, high divorce rate, depression, and a lot of it comes because you're working in a cloud of mercury. So in our practice, we have ionizers, we have certain equipment to help deal with that, and also in disposing of it. We have collectors in our suctions where it won't go into the water system and into the oceans. I mean, we contribute a lot of mercury. Dentistry contributes a lot of mercury into the oceans.
Now, the statements you just made, those are some powerful statements.
Yes.
Those are some powerful statements. So now the medical profession does comment on the problem with the dentists and the dentist staff as far as mercury toxicity. That is pretty much acknowledged by the profession, is it not?
Yes.
But the controversial part among some is they say, no, that those silver amalgam fillings, which are half mercury, are not problematic for the patients. Is that what they say?
Well, they used to say that the mercury didn't escape. Now they're saying it does escape, but it's very small amounts, so it's non-problematic. The problem is it's a chronic existence in the mouth. You're always breathing in mercury vapors every time you chew, drink coffee, hot foods. we actually, for our new patients, we actually have a Jerome meter. And what this meter does, it will test the amount of mercury vapors that are coming off these fillings. And we can actually show to the patient, this is how much mercury is coming out of your fillings. So then we try to explain to them these vapors then end up going where? They go up to the brain, they go into your body. You know, as long as you have these silver mercury fillings in your mouth, it's being dumped into your system. And sometimes what ends up happening is, you know, due to trauma, you know, like a car accident, loss of a loved one, the body can't handle it anymore. So then they start getting these symptoms of unknown origin, which ends up being the heavy metals that are in their mouth.
When did you decide as a practicing dentist that indeed that the mercury fillings that you've been taught in school, while they certainly were probably on many levels very successful, they're inexpensive, they're durable, they last, so they're good, right? There's a lot of merit to the silver amalgam fillings for the patient, but because of the mercury, in your opinion, this was a problem and you were not going to use it. So when was that?
The way it started was, again, I went to USC Dental School, great school, great education, and I was doing dentistry for about 7 years, and the wife of the Love Boat, Captain Stubing, his wife came into my practice, and I looked in her mouth, and I said, "Wow, you don't have any silver fillings." She goes, "No," and I was already enjoying cosmetic dentistry, and she goes, "I went to Dr. Hal Huggins in Colorado," and I go,
Huggins, oh yes.
I go, "Who?" She goes, "You don't know about him?" I said, "No." So the next day, she came back and brought me his book.
Mm-hmm.
It's All in Your Head by Dr. Hal Huggins. And as soon as I started reading it, I couldn't put it down. The next thing I knew was I was flying to Colorado Springs. I took the introductory course there. The next month, I flew back and took the advance. Now, funny story, my partner, Dr. Blanche Gruby, I met her at the first one, and we were the only two from that group that took the advance course the next month, and that's how we became fast friends, because we said, "Oh wow, you're serious and I'm serious. This is cool." So back then in the early 90s, they were coming after us.
Oh yes, they were.
They were coming after us because we weren't putting mercury in people's mouths. How ridiculous is that? But I could not do it anymore. There was Dr. Hal Huggins had so much information that consciously in my heart and in my soul, I couldn't put another one in there. I agree with you, Josh, in that silver fillings did serve a purpose for a long time. The reason they're still around is because they're fast, easy, and cheap. Mm-hmm. And you can actually make a crown out of this stuff. Whereas, you know, the composites, the white fillings, you can't. You know, it's very limited in its usage, but there are certain ways to get around that without having to go back and use these silver mercury fillings. That's how I evolved back in 1992.
So you were a fast adopter then. I mean, you saw the information and you moved on it, which is very difficult to do in your professional career because, you know, you kind of have a setup. You know what I mean? You're doing something already.
Well, it was a little scary. That I spent all these years studying to be a dentist, and knowing that I could lose my license, but
right.
I just couldn't do it. I just, you know, in my gut and in my soul, I just had to help heal people.
Now, roughly 20 years later, from your initial experience with Dr. Hal Huggins, I noticed that there's a movement away from silver fillings, and one way that seems to have helped everyone save face is you can say, well, we do it as composite material, and it doesn't ever turn dark. And so when you smile, all you see is a nice white mouth, which everyone wants. So is the cosmetic aspect of the composite materials allowing everyone to save face, and that the dentists who are slow to move away from it can move away from it and not have to admit culpability? Is that a good way? Is that a bad way to phrase it?
I think that people, especially here in Southern California, all want white teeth. Everybody wants white, sparkling teeth.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't like the way the silver fillings look now. I don't think it's the dentist's fault. I mean, that's we were taught a certain way, and it's just how you want to help your patient. I definitely think that the internet has educated so many people. And because of Proposition 65 in California, it's our duty to explain to the patient before placing a material what this material can do to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because of Prop 65 and the internet, we have seen a shift in consciousness and in health because of our our lack of good food. More and more people, and the stress levels in our society, more and more people are becoming, I don't want to use the word more sick, but are having more health problems
Sure.
because of everything combined. So they're trying to stay healthy. And so we have seen a shift. And what's great is I love it when my colleagues will say, they'll call me up, David, what should I use? Or this and this and that. And my patient said this to me, and what do you think? And so it's the public now educating the dentists about heavy metal toxicity in the mouth, because think about it, it's a novelty. The head is actually connected to the body.
Right.
But what Western medicine has done is they decapitated you. Here's a dentist and there's a physician. But if you were to go buy a horse, you hire a vet to let you know the condition of the horse.
Right.
What is the first thing the vet does? Looks in the horse's mouth. Because what's going on in the mouth affects the rest of the body.
Right.
And it's just, there's so much common sense in holistic biological dentistry. It just all makes sense. It just, we've been conditioned, like in everything else with diet and foods and all that, a certain way. But again, I think that the internet and all the information out there has really helped a lot of people.
So at your practice now, and I guess at the practice of many other dentists who are moving in your direction,
Mm-hmm.
instead of using silver amalgam fillings if a patient came in who has a cavity, needs to have that cavity addressed, what would you recommend for the patient now? What is the preferable?
The protocol we do in our practice is we educate them in saying, the best thing to do is get your blood drawn. Mm-hmm. And we get that blood drawn, we send it to a lab in Colorado. Then we get a computer printout of all the materials in dentistry, and then it breaks it down to materials that are highly, moderately, and least reactive to your body. Mm-hmm. So then we use materials that are the least reactive. Some patients will say, well, I don't want to do that. I trust you. So we then say, okay, myself and Dr. Gruby have been doing this for over 20-something years. We know which materials, especially for myself, look great, last, and are the percentage of biocompatibility is in the 90s. So we would use those materials.
Mm-hmm. And so you use a composite material. You use mostly composite now?
Yeah, mostly composites.
Mm-hmm. And the composites don't have nickel?
No, we do in Centers for Healing, our practice, we don't use any metal in anything. I mean, not even in implants. We use zirconia implants. Everyone out there has titanium. We are more progressive in using zirconia, which actually has been around in Europe for 20-something years.
In dental implants?
Dental implants. Mm-hmm. The FDA approved of them 2 years ago here in the States.
I see. Some things just kind of grind through slowly for whatever reason.
Correct.
And where is your practice, Dave?
Newbury Park, California. In everyone asks, well, where's Newbury Park? It's actually in the city of Thousand Oaks.
You can please give us the exact address and your phone number, please.
1000 Newbury Road, Suite 225, Newbury Park, 805-375-2233.
So it's Dr. Villarreal, and what's the other physician?
Dr. Gruby.
Dr. Gruby. Mm-hmm. And you see new patients all the time?
Yes, we do.
And you also do cosmetic dentistry?
Yes, I do cosmetic biological dentistry.
And cosmetic dentistry, well, obviously means what, people have lost teeth, and you make sure that you use these little new, what do they call these new devices where people who have lost teeth have their teeth replaced and you kind of screw it in?
Yeah, those are the implants. We use zirconia implants. We don't use titanium. We use zirconia.
And that seems like a good thing, doesn't it? I mean, now people realize, no, if you lose teeth, you don't want to walk around with missing teeth because you think, oh God, I'm missing teeth. You feel bad. And so then you have these, and that seems like a very nice technology.
It's a great.
It seems like a very nice thing.
It's a very good, a great technology. We also do, the Hollywood smiles. I don't like to use that terminology, but some people want to have that, and we do that. But again, we do it in a way where we're using a material that is more compatible, because not all white fillings are created the same, and it depends where they're manufactured. Also, a lot of the composites are manufactured in China.
Oh dear. So
Yeah, the composites that we use, the main composites we use, three major ones. One's manufactured in Boston. It's a small lab. The other one is manufactured in Germany, and the other one's manufactured in Japan. So we're very, very particular of even our labs. The lab technicians we use, and making sure that they don't use any metals in their labs.
oh, well, that just seems prudent. That does really seem prudent. For those of you just tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health, we're speaking with Dr. David Villarreal, a biological dentist practicing here in Newbury Park, California, graduate of USC. And Dave also has some nice mouthwash and toothpaste products, which you see around in local natural food stores. Why is this tooth whitening paste better than other things I could buy that are maybe better known?
The story behind Estrella, my natural oral care line, was back in the 90s. I would send my patients to Whole Foods or Lassen's or some natural food store to pick up some natural toothpaste and mouth rinse. They would use it for a while, and what would happen is they would stop because it tasted terrible.
Right.
And so what ended up happening was I just became very frustrated with it. As things occur, when I decided that I wanted to manufacture my own products, I met a natural chemist. So we worked for 2 years on the ingredients. I was very specific as to which ingredients I wanted to benefit the oral cavity and the body. And his name was David also, and I said, David, I'm very concerned about the ingredients, but one of the biggest things that I have to deal with is the taste, because if it doesn't taste good, people aren't going to use it.
Right.
So we developed it, and my patients were my guinea pigs for about 3 years.
Okay, seems fair.
And I saw amazing results with it in reduction of periodontal pockets, in gingivitis, in bad breath, and also, again, everybody in Southern California wants whiter teeth. Well, everybody wants whiter teeth.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not an advocate of the whitening systems because they're peroxide based and they dry out the teeth.
Do they make the teeth more porous?
Well, no, your teeth are porous, but what ends up happening is they dry them out. They dry the teeth out, and I'm a big advocate against chairside bleaching, where they go in and get the Zoom and they get the whitening at the dental practice, because what you're doing is you're just irritating the nerves of the teeth, and later in life that nerve's going to die, and they're going to then need a root canal and this and that.
Oh, no kidding! That seems very serious.
And
wow.
if they accidentally put this bleaching gel on the gums, it burns the gums. So what does that tell you? This is bad. This is not good for the oral
cavity. Sounds like not a good thing, right?
So my big concern was making my own ingredients. So I came up with my own whitening system, which has no peroxides. It's my trade secret. It's called Bright, to whiten the teeth. It doesn't whiten as if you were to go in and get your teeth whitened, but it does take away stains and all that. My big concerns for developing my products were dealing with dry mouth, gingivitis, gum disease, and cavities. So that's when I came up with the herbal essential oil complex. And what that actually does is it infuses the mouth with oxygen. That being said, it's only going after the anaerobic bacteria, which is the bacteria that causes all those gingivitis, periodontal disease, all that, but it leaves the good bacteria to do what it needs to do. It's kind of like if you're taking antibiotics. The more conscious physicians will tell you go take probiotics with it, because it cleans antibiotics just clean everything, good and bad. Well, so does the over-the-counter regular toothpaste and mouth rinses. They dry out the mouth and they kill the good and the bad bacteria.
Right.
So, and then as we age, our skin dries. So same thing happens with the gums. So the oils in the mouthwash and the toothpaste actually moisturize the gums. And yeah, I just keep seeing amazing results with it. Again, my big concern was what's going on in the mouth, but also what you're placing in your mouth, like some of the toothpaste. Well, a lot of the toothpaste over the counter have sodium lauryl sulfate and fluoride. That's being absorbed into your system also.
Right.
And I don't like any those two ingredients especially. So I wanted something that whatever you're putting in your mouth will actually benefit the whole body.
And if I can ask you, put you on the spot, fluoride in the water supply in the United States, it's in a lot of cities, but I do notice that in Europe, the Germans don't fluoridate, the Swedes don't fluoridate, the Danes don't fluoridate, the Europeans do not fluoridate, the Europeans are scientific. The Europeans found that fluoridation did not work, and they took it out of their water supply. So why are we fluoridating our water?
Because you have to get rid of a toxic substance. Why put it in the water? I'm serious. What you don't understand is what fluoride does. Yes, fluoride will strengthen the enamel, but it does nothing to the dentin, which is the inner tooth structure. Mm-hmm. So here you got these kids, right? And they're walking around and, they're inundated with so much sugar in their diet. Right. So you go in and you see, like on the top of the tooth, there's a little stick, right? It sticks a little bit with the Explorer. So there's a little cavity. You open it, numb them up, drill in it, and it's like someone threw a grenade in that tooth. Because, again, fluoride is not allowing you to pick up the decay soon enough. So when you go in, the tooth is just bombed. It's such a travesty of what's going on. My big thing too is this is I don't know how your listeners will take this, but well, first of all, speaking about Europe is much more advanced, and they're much more conscious about what's going on, especially with the fluoride. And they've done studies where they've taken a nation that has fluoridated water and a nation that doesn't. There's no decrease or increase in cavities. It's the same. Right. Okay, so the fluoridated water does nothing to help decay. But the big thing for me is a lot of people don't understand that there's a gland called the pineal gland that actually absorbs the fluoride. And what the pineal gland does is it's actually your third eye. It's your intuitiveness. Mm-hmm. And if it's absorbing the fluoride, it's shutting all that down. It's shutting down your gut feeling. It's shutting down your intuitiveness. And for me, from a spiritual side, that's, again, another travesty that's going on.
Now, on fluoridation, mm-hmm. would you say that more and more colleagues have your position now, or are you still completely alone on that one? Not completely alone, but are you still kind of like, well, you're not in with the mainstream guys on this one?
Oh, it's so fluoridation is so mainstream. I mean, we are a small percentage of dentists in this nation that are against fluoride. It's a sad story.
Obviously, I feel that you are correct. I think that fluoride is undesirable, and that some people feel that fluoride was actually put in a water supply. I've heard a speaker at the Cancer Control Society say that it was part of a byproduct of the manufacture of the Manhattan Project, and that they actually started adding it to water in an effort to indemnify themselves so that they would not be legally culpable. And because before that, I had thought that the aluminum companies had, it was a byproduct of aluminum and they were putting it in the water supply. But this fellow said, whose name now escapes me, I think it may have been Justin Green, I could be mistaken on that, but he said, no, it goes before that. It was just like, it was from literally a byproduct of the Manhattan Project. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I thought, okay, And then I guess a lot of dentists, men your age and older than you, who've learned to use fluoride, they just learned it as a matter of course. They never did any science to research. They said, no, they were told this is good, and they used it. And then if you say, we think it's not good, they say, no, I'm a dentist. I learned this in school. It's good. So I'm not sure who you're listening to, but you're wrong. It's good. And I guess it'll take a while before that's defeated. Or maybe it could be defeated instantaneously, too. You never know. Sometimes things do change real fast.
There's some cities here in Southern California that are trying to ban it from the waters.
Right.
And some have been successful. But yet it's a slow-moving process, just like the whole silver mercury filling thing.
It's a slow-moving process sometimes.
It's a slow-moving process. But again, what you're doing right now in educating what we do at Centers for Healing and educating, what the internet is doing is providing the information for the masses to educate themselves, because it is. I mean, your health, you're responsible for your health, and I think we're starting to see a shift from like where my parents were like, they would go to the doctor and the doctor would say, you have this, this, and that. And I would say, well, why don't you go get a second opinion? Oh, no, this is what my doctor said.
Right.
So at least we're starting to see that shift where, and I, like in my practice, I'll look at the patient and I say, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with my diagnosis, please go get a second opinion, a third opinion. You will not insult me. I said, because when you sit in that chair, there has to be this communication and this agreement.
Right.
In you trusting me and knowing that I'm doing the best and you feel comfortable in the diagnosis that I gave. So we are seeing a shift in that.
Right. I agree with you. I think, certainly from we being boomers, our parents' generation had a much more passive attitude towards wellness. And we recognize that MDs are smart. We know they're well trained and they're good for some things for sure. Mm-hmm. But also we recognize that exercise is a good thing, eating carefully, supplements, a cleaner environment, no smoking, all of which we kind of take for granted, many of us. And the professions, much to their tremendous shame, especially the MDs, were never strongly anti-smoking, were never pro a cleaner environment, do not promote exercise. They really they encourage a rather passive attitude towards health. That is their attitude, you get sick and we'll manage your illness. And that may have worked for our parents' generation, but our generation has a very different take on it. And I think things are starting to shift, in my opinion, for the better. People are much more alert and better educated, and so they recognize that eating carefully is not a big deal. It's not a big deal, you know. And the Coca-Cola is problematic. Dave, once again, please give us your contact info.
Okay, for my natural products, it's called Estrella, and you can there's certain Whole Foods that carry it. Lassen's in Northern County, LA County carries it. Mother's in Southern Orange County.
Mother's is a great.
Mother's carries it.
Or so is Lassen's.
Yes, I love those stores. And you can go online at www.purenaturaltoothpaste.com.
Well, Dave, thank you very much. It's been a very interesting interview. Thank you very much. This is Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Walk, run, climb, play. Solgar number 7 can help. Feel the difference for yourself. Solgar number 7 actually shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Now you can start to get back on track fast and pursue the activities you love. Solgar number 7 is a breakthrough in joint care with no glucosamine and no chondroitin. The advanced bioactives in Solgar number 7 help to increase flexibility, mobility, range of motion, and actually shows improvement within just 7 days. 1 capsule once a day is all you need. When stiff joints occasionally say no, Solgar number 7 says yes. Visit Solgar.com and learn more about Solgar number 7 today. That's www.solgar.com, www.solgar.com. Solgar number 7, official sponsors of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane and LA Talk Live.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore Hippocrates Health Institute. Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. Our guest this segment has been a guest on Here's to Your Health before, Susan Moss. Susan Moss is a professional artist and recovered from breast cancer in the very early 1990s using what at the time were considered avant-garde approaches, completely non-toxic, to her breast cancer. Susan Moss wrote 2 books, Survive Cancer, and her second book, Keep Your Breasts. These books have been very well reviewed, and they're very nicely done books, and they're very important. And Susan Moss has helped a number of people, many people, and I'm very pleased that Susan will be is on the show again for a second time. Susan Moss, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
Josh.
Happy to have you on the show. Now, in the very late 80s, early 90s, when you had these problems, wait a second.
Okay.
Minor adjustments, folks. Thank you very much for patience.
Thank you. What was that? Okay. So, Sue, if you don't mind, now this is, of course, terribly personal, but you developed breast cancer?
Breast and uterine.
And how old, can I ask how old you when that happened?
46 and a half.
And then, so what did you do?
I developed a program called MOTAP, Marathon Olympic Tumor Eradication and Prevention Program. It's 20 points. It covers physical, mental, detox, de-stress, exercise, group therapy, prayer, chanting, visualization, laughter, healing relationships. It's very complex, and it covers every aspect of your life.
Okay, so now you are a cancer survivor for more than 22 years.
Yes.
So therefore, because of that achievement, so people would certainly listen to you because you had this problem a long time ago when people didn't realize there were other ideas that were non-toxic available. And so I'm sure that now you're listened to more than, say, 20 years ago when probably people thought, oh, that's Sue. We don't know what she's doing. Wish her well, but you should be listening to the MDs only. Would you like to comment? Let's do some of the basic stuff first. So let's talk about the food you eat now that you may have eaten in the 60s or 70s that you wouldn't eat now. What is it that you recommend that we do eat, and what, in your opinion, should we really try not to eat?
Well, I do a lot of juicing. I have a Vitamix. I throw the carrots in and the fruit and.
So you juice fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
A lot of juicing, and whole grains like brown rice and barley is very good for cleaning out, and lots of vegetables, fresh vegetables, salads, and I don't eat a lot of meat, very seldom, mostly fish or sometimes chicken. But
and what kind of fish would you suggest that you think is better for us?
Well, I eat a lot of salmon.
Salmon seems to be a good choice.
So
you're not vegetarian now. Were you ever vegetarian?
Well, cancer actually comes from distress. And when you're under a lot of distress because of usually emotional trauma.
Yes.
For instance, when you lose a spouse, that's number one, stress.
Right.
Getting a divorce, that's number 2. And 3 is separation. And number 4, what do you think that is?
I don't know.
The fourth worst stress you can go through is going to jail. So now you know that
Oh, I see. Okay.
3 worst stresses are emotional distress.
Right.
When you're under emotional distress, you tend to try to fill up that hole, which was what I did with food. So I was overeating a lot of meat and trying to fill up an emotional hole. And I think that is the big problem, is that instead of like going to group therapy to try to heal what the distress is, you try to fill it up with food. And now I do a lot of like semi-fasting, where I'll like once a week I'll just do juicing and salads. I don't do a whole fast where I eliminate everything, but I do eat very, very lightly. And that's what I recommend you do when you have cancer, because you are full of toxins.
Mm-hmm.
If you have cancer, you've been under stress for quite a while, and you have a lot of destructive cortisol and other hormones in your body. You need to get all that out, plus all the food that you've tried to fill that hole with. And so I have people under eat for a month, and your body will throw out because you've put a lot of nutrients in, and barley and brown rice and vegetables and juicing. You'll throw out a lot of junk, and you have to do that when you have cancer. You have to detox all that junk out, because otherwise the body cannot start to heal.
Detoxing is something that is discussed even in mainstream circles now as a valid concept, the idea of detoxifying the body. Now, you are a professional artist.
Yes.
So in retrospect now, I know when the first time we were on our show, we touched on this as well. Would you also say that your profession exposed you to much toxic material that you inhaled and got on the skin that could have been a factor in health problems?
You know, that's a really good question. I'm glad you talked about that. In the 70s, this was when I was using acrylic paint, which is very toxic, by the way, and I was doing big commissions like 4 10-foot paintings for the Bonaventure Hotel. So I was ordering Roplex in big drums, and it's totally carcinogenic, and I didn't know that. So I did develop a lump in my neck, and went to UCLA as an outpatient. They did a biopsy. They said it's right on the verge of cancer, and if you keep using these materials, you will have cancer. And that's when I started learning about cancer. And they said if you don't get rid of the lump in 1 year, we're going to operate and take it out. And that's when my dad bought me a juicer. I started on the carrot juice. I learned about visualization from Carl Symington. And I started running on the beach. Well, at first I couldn't even run. I was so weak. But I had an architect friend, and we would go a little ways and then maybe a little farther the next time. And in 1 year, I did get rid of that lump. And the doctor was so shocked. He was ready to operate, and he didn't understand that the lump was because a protection from breathing the fumes. And when I stopped using the acrylic and I started taking care of my health and detoxing and de-stressing and doing the visualization, that the body would not need that lump anymore.
And again, so could you mention the name of that material? Is that material still legal, or has it been banned?
It is still legal, and artists are still suffering. And now I use oil, and it's interesting you ask this question, because we are coming out with an organic oil made in Canada.
An organic paint, you're saying?
No, it's linseed oil.
Oh, linseed oil, yes.
That you mix with the paint, and we are coming out with it. It's beautiful. 2 bottles with my paintings on them. And my
organic
signature.
Linseed oil. That seems like something that the artist would buy, actually.
Yes, and we have one that's clear. It's never been made before, because linseed oil is amber color. This is clear like water.
And what do artists use linseed oil for?
You mix your paint with it. It's just like the Roplex. You mix the Roplex with it, which is plastic. This is linseed oil. You mix the paint with it, and then you can apply it.
And what school did you go to? What art school did you go to?
I went to Otis.
And you graduated from Otis in the 70s?
I left Otis in 1970 and established my studio in 71. They actually flunked me out.
They did?
Because I didn't have any talent.
Oh, I see.
But they changed their mind and hired me to teach.
Oh, really? Oh, you've been teaching there.
Well, I did teach just for, I wanted to show them, you
Sure.
know, that, and I didn't apply. They took me to lunch. It was when I started to get success as an artist, and they saw that they had made a mistake, a
Right.
big mistake.
Well, it's nice that they acknowledge it, isn't it? It's nice to be acknowledged. That's good. That's very good. Now, today, what could you tell my viewers that the viewers should start with doing so that they don't get cancer? What would you tell them? Start to do this first or second? What would you say?
Well, I would say read my books. Keep Your Breast was actually the first one.
Keep Your Breast, which actually, that does seem like it's a clever title, but it's also a very fair title because they do a lot of unnecessary surgery is kind of the essence, right?
Yes. Actually, you cannot cut disease out of the body. And the reason I title it that way is my story doing a natural program
Right.
and healing myself is contrasted with Kimberly, who did strictly the medical. Do what the doctor says.
Kimberly who?
Kimberly Peters, my friend.
Oh, I see.
And so I contrast my story with her story. She was only 34. She found the lump herself. 3 days later, she had the mastectomy. And guess where the cancer grew back?
Where?
You have no idea?
No.
Same spot where her breast used to be in the chest wall.
Hmm.
That's when I woke up. And this is the Santa Claus notion that you can cut disease out of the body. You cannot.
Okay.
You
I agree
have
with
to. You have to heal because the cancer is going to come back. And I found out 1/3 of the mastectomies that happens
Oh, that's the number 1/3 come back. I didn't know.
in the same spot.
But surgeons do surgery because that's what they've been taught, and I guess unfortunately, this is going to sound kind of harsh. There's big money in surgery, isn't
Yes,
Yeah.
but you cannot cure disease with surgery. There's no way you can cut the flu out, the cold out, the measles, the mumps.
there? Right, that's true.
Why do they think they can cut cancer out? Because it has a tumor, but the tumor is your friend. It's trying to protect you. It's formed like an egg around the cancer cells, and you cut into your body, and it's going to spread like wildfire.
Right.
And that I got from a nurse, an oncology nurse who'd been practicing for 10 years, and she saw it every time.
Now, one of the substances that is widely discussed for cancer patients as being very helpful is the use of vitamin C. Do you have much experience using vitamin C in any way, and do you think it's valuable to use vitamin C?
Yes, it is very valuable. When I was going through my cancer healing, I did a lot of vitamins, vitamin C, B, D. A I got from the carrot juice.
Mhm.
Because that is toxic to the liver if you take too much of it. But with carrot juice, the beta carotene is converted to vitamin A, and it's non-toxic. So it's important because when you're under distress, as we talked about earlier, you're burning vitamins like crazy. So you've got to replace those vitamins, and also to help your body to heal, you need those vitamins.
And how much vitamin C did you use at one time, if you don't mind sharing that, and how much do you use now?
Now I just do the juicing. I don't take vitamins anymore.
All right.
But I was using about 1,000 milligrams.
Which is very modest, isn't it? It's a very modest amount. And so your diagnosis was breast and uterine cancer.
Right.
Right. And so
Stage 4.
Stage 4, which is the worst.
I almost died.
And so you have the paperwork, and then who did you work with that guided you in this? Because after all, these ideas, you just didn't learn them in a day. I mean, you don't learn this kind of stuff in one day, but who was it, if you could mention the names, who guided you on this subject?
I had the past healing experience, remember, Josh, in the 70s with the acrylic paint. I did it on my own.
I did it on your own. Okay, so that takes real guts. Okay, did it on your own. No, seriously, it's because like it's one thing you have like a cold and you take vitamin C for a cold, you think, and the cold's going to go away anyway. When you have cancer, it's certainly you must feel kind of lonely. You think, oh my God, I have cancer, and it doesn't get too much worse than that, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No.
No, I look pretty bad. I look terrible.
And then what tests showed that you were free of cancer, and how many years did that take before the test showed yes, you were free of cancer?
It was 2 months I got rid of the tumors, under 2 months on the program, because that's the deadline the doctor gave me. And the deadline was to go to the surgeon. It wasn't to heal. And then it did take 7 more months to get well. And when you're well, you don't need paperwork.
True. That's very true. Right.
I've been well for 22 years.
Well, Sue, you really have that. You have these ideas which I know to be valid, but they are very strong ideas, especially years ago when you were really alone with this. Now you have a lot of people, a lot of colleagues who kind of support your effort, who understand what you're doing. But in the early 90s, I know that was not the case.
It's very tough still. I think because there's so many laws and there's fear. As I told you earlier, I met a woman in Whole Foods and she said they scare you. They want to do the chemo, the surgery, the radiation, and the funeral. Right. Those are the 4 steps, actually. Surgery is first.
Right. Let me ask you about the use of processed sugar. Would you say now that you eat little or no processed sugar?
I don't eat sugar. I think sugar is very destructive. Certainly it is one of the things that cancer cells feed on.
Right. You're not saying that sugar causes cancer, but you're saying that cancer cells feed on sugar.
Absolutely. Right. That's how they grow. They do a fermenting thing. And so you need to change your blood from acidic to basic.
More alkaline.
Alkaline.
Yeah.
That's the word I want. You need to change your blood. If you look at Survive Cancer, I have a chart of what your blood looks like in different states: natural, healthy, and cancer, and multiple sclerosis, all kinds of TB. So you can look at your blood, you can see. And I think the future of cancer is going to be looking at the blood, not the biopsy, which spreads the cancer.
Right.
But taking a little blood, look under a microscope and see what it looks like.
And your books, Survive Cancer and Keep Your Breasts, these books, you can buy these on Amazon and local...
Anywhere. Any bookstore, online bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. They're universal books. You can get them anywhere.
Yeah, Keep Your Breasts by Susan Moss and Survive Cancer by Susan Moss. One thing about the idea that sugar might promote the growth of cancerous tumors, sometimes you chat with a physician and they say, oh, that's just not so. But then if you say to them, well, what exactly is a PET scan? A PET scan is radioactive material in a base of glucose. And when a patient drinks the PET scan, radioactive material in a base of glucose, the cancer cells, being abnormal pathology, which cannot absorb protein or amino acids, but they eat sugar, take in the radioactive material, you take a picture of the patient, and you see where the cancer is because the cancer cells eat sugar.
Exactly.
And so it's just like, it's very kind of straightforward.
It's very, very. And we know what kind of diet, but I do have diet in both books. I also have foods with Laetrile, which is a natural form of chemotherapy. I have a list of 41 foods in both books.
And Laetrile was a substance that was used, in 1940s, 1950s to help treat cancer patients. The drug Laetrile, a non-toxic drug, is that correct?
It's actually a food. It's a vitamin.
It's B17?
Yes.
From apricot kernels and from other sources?
Apricot kernels have the most, but there's other foods. There's 41 foods I list. It's actually in 1,200 foods.
And it's completely non-toxic?
It's a vitamin.
And that was a very early approach, Laetrile, which was really suppressed by the mainstream physicians.
Well, they don't want any competition with chemo.
Right. Well, that's right. After all, let's say people are listening to us who really don't have our orientation, but the reality is there is competition. There is competition for the healthcare dollar. And so sometimes if you use vitamin C intravenously, which is great for the cancer patient, but vitamin C can't be patented. And so therefore, unfortunately, it's not very profitable.
That's the trouble. But I think the whole industry of cancer and all the millions and millions of dollars they make from each patient, I think it's all going to fall into the La Brea tar pits.
Well, I think it's already changing, and I say that I think it is changing. I think because people are better educated now to some of these ideas, and when the ideas have merit, they survive. And I think that a lot of people of our generation are moving this direction because the ideas work, and there seems to be, as far as I can tell, no political overtone to any of this. It's not a Democrat-Republican issue. It's not a left-wing, right-wing issue. It's none of that kind of stuff. It's just some people realize, well, if I do get sick with this, it's good. Maybe I should quit smoking. Maybe I should not use tobacco. Maybe I should cut that out.
Absolutely.
Which is something that most Americans wouldn't have done maybe in 1955, because it was not until 1964 that the Surgeon General's report came out, the first one that said tobacco is bad for the health. That was 1964. So before that, if you said tobacco's bad for you, people said, "Oh, you health guys, you guys are just that's baseless." But now pretty much everyone takes for granted. No, tobacco contributes to, they say, 1/3 of all cancers could be prevented. 1/3 if people did not smoke. Now,
Absolutely.
That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. You have to be careful of your environment, what you do to your body. I think of when you get cancer, you really wake up and learn how to take care of yourself. And I think it's an opportunity to learn.
Now, as an artist, almost all the materials you work with, aren't they all kind of toxic? Isn't drawing with charcoal kind of toxic?
As I said, we're coming out with this non-toxic linseed oil, and there's no fumes in my studio. I work very large, sometimes 8-foot, 9-foot canvases, and you can walk in my studio. There is no smell at all.
And have you chatted with any other artists about this and any kind of?
Oh, absolutely. They come to me and they ask me, "How do you do this?" And when we get our products out, you're going to see a whole revolution in artists. Artists are going to be able to keep their health.
Because artists really, in general, are much more aware of toxicity in product. And I think there are a number of books out talking about that as well, because it's not like it was, say, in the 50s or 60s. The younger artists realize, oh, no, unfortunately, this is an issue, and we have to pay attention.
Yes, absolutely. We've had a lot of artists die because they, and I've known some. Nancy Graves, for instance, she started working with acrylic resins. And she was out here for an art opening, and she had a lump in her neck, just like I did. And I said, "Nancy, you're going to have to stop using that." "Oh, no, I've got all these projects, and I got to work, and I know what I'm doing." And 6 months later, she was dead.
Wow. Nancy Graves is actually a pretty well-known contemporary American artist.
Yes, she was a wonderful artist and a wonderful human being. And if she had just listened to me.
Just couldn't relate to the ideas. Yeah.
Well, artists are very intense on what they're doing, and they don't want to stop.
Sure.
But you have to stop. And I think that's everybody needs to look at what they're doing to themselves.
And what about, okay, so we talked about food. You also, the idea of organically grown fruits and vegetables vis-a-vis conventional, are you in favor of eating organic as much as possible?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. You don't want to ingest pesticides. They're carcinogenic.
Right.
So I do eat as much organic as I can.
And would you say on the protein needs, you're not vegetarian, but do you have a rough number of the amount of protein you consume over the course of the day to keep your vitality up?
Whole grains have protein.
They do have some, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you doing, say, 60 to 75 grams of protein a day, would you say?
Oh, I would say yes.
Right. Right. Because sometimes some of the vegetarians advocating, say, 40 grams of protein, some of the vegan, I think that's a little too light. And then you go to some of the extreme athletes like to recommend like 150 grams of protein a day, which seems more than most of us really do need. Because if you eat a soft-boiled egg is 6 grams of protein, two eggs for breakfast, you got 12 grams, which is all you need. We don't need tons of protein, just need it evenly over the course of the day.
I think we overeat protein.
I think some people can overeat protein. Yeah.
I want to mention my website.
Please.
www.susanhmoss.com. We just revised the website. I have a new book that's a thriller on it called The Accident Stager.
The Accident Stager. Is that a novel or is it a wellness book?
It's a true novel story.
Okay, very good. Very good. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. My guest has been Susan Moss, a successful cancer survivor for more than 22 years, breast and uterine cancer. And Susan's books include Keep Your Breasts by Susan Moss and Survive Cancer by Susan Moss. And these books are available everywhere. So please stay with us. We're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Good job.
Mountain Valley Spring Water, since 1871, has been bottled at the source in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Twice named the best tasting water in the world, Mountain Valley water is naturally alkaline and bottled in glass, providing the perfect blend of nature's minerals, giving you a crisp, clean taste. To start your home and office delivery in Southern California, call us at 1-800-499-9982 or visit us online at www.mountainvalleywaterla.com. New customers will receive their first 2 5-gallon bottles free. Mountain Valley Water, the official sponsor of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane on LA Talk Live.
Hi, this is Jean Noel Bastior, inviting you to join me for my new show, The Book Beat, Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. I'll be talking to authors about their latest book so you can find a fantastic read. But more than that, I'll be talking to experts about how you can write your own book and get it published. So tune in on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. exclusively on latalklive.com. And remember, you can catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new, but there is joy in my house.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez.
And I'm Lolita Robinson-Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio
with a touch of recovery.
A reality show where nothing is left unsaid
and no one is insignificant who says it.
Exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. Our next guest is with Essentia Water, a very popular 9.5 pH water. His name is Darwin Chevalier, which is a great name, Darwin Chevalier of Essentia. Thank you for coming on to my show. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you for having us.
Sure. Now, your water, the Essentia Water, it's everywhere, right? I mean, Whole Foods carries it, but doesn't Albertsons and Costco and Kroger, does everyone carry it?
Well, pretty much. The major chains carry it. We're not in Costco, Walmart, those types of stores, the discount stores, those volume buyers, volume stores. But we're in generally all of your retail grocery outlets, especially if they have a natural set. So Whole Foods is a good example down here. It's all natural foods. Sprouts is another good example. Mother's Market. There's a lot of independent stores that carry us and a lot of natural food markets that carry us. The stores that concentrate on healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, you will find our water there. When you go to Safeway, you go to Albertsons, you go to Ralph's, you go to Raley's, those stores, some of them have a natural set, so they carry natural products along with the general products. We're in a lot of those stores all across the United States. We're also just now getting started going down the water aisle of the general store. So some stores you'll start to find us there too. But we've always focused on the natural set, the stores that are into the healthy eating, the healthy lifestyle. Those customers understand the benefits of a high pH, high alkaline water.
And for those of my listeners who are new to the subject or just haven't bumped into those concepts, why would I be looking for a 9.5 pH water?
Well, when you're looking for a good water to drink that's a beneficial water or a functional water, you want to look for water that not only going to hydrate you, but is going to give a benefit to your body, that's going to give you something that is more than just water. And so what we tell people when we see them at the shows or they come up to us at different events and they'll ask, why should I buy your water? What is so special about your water? What is pH? I mean, they don't know a lot about that.
Right.
So first thing I have to do is say, okay, what do you normally drink? And they might say tap water, they might say a mineral water, they might say a spring water. Whatever they tell me they're drinking, I now have a way to converse with them and say, okay, here's what you have, and here's the difference. So if you took something like tap water, you would drink it in. You're the type of person that probably says water's water. So they drink them tap water. They probably don't drink enough because they don't like the taste of it. They don't like the feeling of the heaviness they get if they drink too much of it. So they'll drink a little, but they won't drink enough. The tap water has things in it that your body doesn't want, such as fluoride and chlorine, for example.
Right.
A high pH water, an alkaline, a manufactured water, a functional water that we make here has none of those ingredients in it. There's nothing in this water that has to be taken out. So when you drink tap water in, it stays in your tummy until those products are removed. Those are poisons. Your cells don't want that. You cannot have hydration with that in the water. The next thing you want when you're having, again, we'll just compare to tap water. Right. There's no electrolytes in the water. So that water is going to stay in your tummy longer, and it's going to rob the electrolytes, the minerals from your body, and just say magnesium, calcium. So instead of the calcium you're getting from all your good eating habits and your fruits and your vegetables and you're eating healthy, that calcium's robbed from your bones and your teeth, must go in the water, and then you can have hydration take place. So as that water's sitting there and you're feeling heavy, and a lot of people just don't drink water because of that reason, especially ladies, when they all of a sudden they drink Essentia, they go, this is different. I had no idea. This water never stays in my tummy because there's nothing that has to come out and there's nothing that has to go in. And another thing that people pick up on when they're drinking Essentia water is the lightness, the smoothness of the taste. Now, this is because of the way we manufacture the water. No other water does this. So we can take any water in the world. This water right here is made in LA. Our other source on the East Coast is made out of Pittsburgh. So we take local water from a large metropolitan area so that we know we'll always have a supply. We have all the supplies here in this local area. We have many water plants to work with. We have all the labor. We have boxes, the bottles, the labels, warehousing, distributions, and we have a huge customer base already here in the immediate market.
Right.
So when we take this water from the water source here in Los Angeles, the first thing we do is we purify it down to nothing. And you can go on our webpage, essentialwater.com, and you can see our process. And the process will show you that we bring in the water, we run it through microfiltration, we then do what we call reverse osmosis, which is a very fine screen, push the water through there and clean it out even more, and then a little UV lighting. And so what happens, you end up with a product that is 99.9% pure. There's nothing in it. After that, we infuse the electrolytes in, the magnesium, the calcium, so forth, the potassium, the things that your body needs before you can have hydration. If those electrolytes are missing, you're not going to have hydration. It's going to sit in your tummy, and I'm going to rob that from your system. Once that's put in, the next step we do is we separate out the positive and negative hydrogen ions. No other company does that of our magnitude. And what happens there is your negative ions are alkaline. They taste sweet. Your positive ions are acidic. So what we say is we take a large amount of those acidic ions and we return them back to the source. We just say that water goes that way. Over here, we keep the water that has the positive, the negative ions that are alkaline. The alkaline ions, as I mentioned, are sweet, so the water gets a very nice sweet taste. But something else happens. When we restructure that water, our water molecules are less dense. So if you looked at a cluster of water or a water molecule, you'll see 15, 12, 14, 15 atoms of H2O in there, molecules of H2O. When we break that up, we only have 5 to 6 atoms of H2O. And we have a lot of negative H hydrogen in our molecule. So, the jargon in the trade in the past has been it's small water clusters. Well, that's not really true because water is always moving and it's not really small. It's small, big because it's moving around. So what we really have is a less dense water cluster. So when you drink it in, not only does it taste great because we've got those sweet ions in there, it has a very smooth, slippery, satiny feel as it's going down. I was just on my way over here today and I was meeting with the gentleman and I gave him a bottle of Essentia water. He had like 3 sips And he said, I have never tasted anything like this. It's totally different than any water. And so what I do with the customer or the potential customer when he comes up to me is I find out again, what do you drink?
Mm-hmm.
Then I tell him what's in our water and why I want him to try it. And what happens is if I can get him to do a comparison or her to do a comparison, sip of my water, a sip of whatever you're using right now. I don't care if it's a spring water. I don't care if it's a mineral water. I don't care if it's a high value water that comes off a glacier somewhere in the Alps. I don't care where you get it from. When you go sip for sip back and forth, all of a sudden you're going to find out this water tastes different. It goes down easier. It never stays in my tummy. I have instant hydration. So that's why we put on the bottle super hydrating water. So we know it's going to go directly to your cells. But the thing that people don't really get is that when you drink any water in the world and you're feeling this heaviness in your tummy,
right,
that's telling you, your body is telling you, I don't like this water.
Oh.
There's something wrong. So whether it's a tap water that has to have the poisonous materials taken out, whether it's a tap or a spring water that doesn't have all the electrolytes you're supposed to have, or whether it's a, quote, manufactured water that has a lot of one electrolyte in it to raise the pH. You can fill up with magnesium and raise the pH, but that doesn't give you the other electrolytes. That doesn't give you the thinness of the water, then the reduced water size, the density reduction doesn't give you any of those benefits. It'll never give you rapid hydration. So when you put all that in there, you go, wow, now I'm understanding why I should try this. Then you get into all the health benefits. Your previous person was talking about problems with blood and cancer and studying your blood. We're going to be at a show in I think it's in June, and one of our lead physicians, Dr. Hallsworth, is going to give a seminar there, and he is a blood viscosity specialist, one of the very few. He studies blood viscosity and how that works with your body. He has also been an Essentia supporter, a believer. He does all of our testing. He's involved every step of the way of all of our technical stuff, and he works with part of our staff at Essentia Water. So we have this huge group of medical people always doing research, and we've got medical reports coming out, research papers coming out to support the benefits, a lot more than what I'm talking about. But we can actually prove them. We can show them. So there's a big breakthrough coming in products such as Essentia Water. And what happens in the marketplace right now, we're seeing an explosion of high pH alkaline type waters. But they're really, without sounding, because I want to sound nice to everybody, but there's a lot of waters that are catching on. We're the number one water in the United States in the natural channel. Nope, nobody outsells us. Dollar-wise, volume-wise, we are the leaders. We lead the category. We are in the top 10% leading the category now in the general aisle, going down the water aisle. So our market is huge. People are coming out and they're making changes to their bottles. They're putting black caps on their bottles. They're changing the label to black as if that's what's fixing everything. It's not. I mean, we've always had the black image, the black cap. But what these folks are doing is they're imitating. And that's okay. They're trying to compete, but they're not innovating. There's a lot of imitators out there, but there's very little innovation. We are the leaders in the innovation. We're the ones that are doing all the research. So I say to those people, you can imitate us, but you'll never duplicate us. Our process is fairly exclusive to us. Nobody has the equipment that we have. The formula as far as infusing with the electrolytes, it's impossible you figure out how to copy that.
Okay, so Darwin, my question for you now. For those of you just tuning in, we're chatting with Darwin Chevalier, who is the educator for Essentia Water. Is this based on earlier Japanese technology? Is that the original genesis of this?
This was based on Japanese and Russian technology in the late 40s, early 50s. That's correct. And there are small hand machines that people can buy, Kangen-type machines, Saturn machines that you can buy for your home that will also give you a high pH water.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be careful because some of the machines put in electrolytes, some do not. You've got to also be careful in the fact that when you make a high pH water with those machines, it only holds the pH for 24 to 36 hours. where we can hold it indefinitely, years and years and years. And we have a 2-year shelf life, but it goes way beyond that. So what happens with those waters, those machines that you have in your home, feel free to use them, but treat them as if they were a printer from your computer. You can't just turn it on. You've got to verify you're really getting the right pH that you put on there. If you've got electrolytes, you've got to fill it up. It's like having a printer, never putting the paper or the ink cartridge back in. They wear out. They don't hold. But if you're running them right, they can give you a good pH water. And it doesn't matter that it's only 24 to 36 hours because you're going to drink it right now.
Right.
But many of them try to sell it, and they bring in their friends over, and they put it in a 5-gallon container, and the friend takes it home. Well, guess what? Tomorrow, the alkalinity is gone. Yeah, so they're not good for that, but they're good, for a basic machine to have around the home.
Okay, well, thank you for that information. And yours is a pH of 9.5.
Correct.
If I buy just regular bottled water, or just say tap water, what's the pH of tap water in LA?
Well, they're all going to be a little bit different, but they're going to hover around 7. That's normal. 7 is 0 on a pH scale. Anything under 7 is acidic. Anything over 7 is alkaline. So we're 9.5. We're alkaline. We're one of the tallest ones, or the highest ones, I should say. And so what happens is you take that into your system. You might be slightly acidic. Most of us are. Not if you're eating healthy and taking care of yourself, but the average person doesn't drink enough water, doesn't really watch what they're eating. Right. I think we're getting wiser and wiser. I mean, look at the growth of Whole Foods and Sprouts, those stores. So the public is learning. So what you want to do is you want to drink this high pH water, move your body from that acidic side you're probably in, and move it slightly over to the alkaline side. A 9 pH will help your whole body get up to that 7.2, 7.3, 7.4 range where you want to be.
And would you say that, let's say I was to use your essential water to make herbal tea, would it give my tea a better taste?
I believe it does. And in fact, I know it does, because when I go to different shows, in fact, one of the expos we're going to be at is the Healthy Beverage Expo, is the formal World Tea Expo. And when I go to natural food shows, many of the coffee people and many of the tea people come up to our booth and say, Darwin, I need some water to make my tea. And what happens if you took this water home and you made, I drank espresso coffee in the morning. I made myself a cup of espresso. I can have maybe 1 cup of espresso, and that's all I'm going to have. I'll go get regular coffee later in the day if I want more coffee. Right. But 1 cup. If I make it out of Essentia, I can have 3 to 4. Because what happens is the acid is gone. I get the great flavor of the caffeine and of the coffee, but I don't get any of the bitterness. The high pH brings that up, so that bitterness is gone. Same is true of tea. You'll have a great cup of tea, but you won't have that acid, that bitterness. Now, some tea and coffee, how do you say the word? Aficionados,
Aficionados, yes.
Aficionados, whatever. They want that bitterness. They want that. I don't. I want a nice, mild, great flavor, but no acid to come back on me. So, yes, does it work for that? Absolutely. There's some things it won't work on, but on that, it works. On coffee and tea, it works very, very well. Juices, it'll work well. So, you can take this, and if you say, I want something a little different, you can infuse it. If you go to one of our our Facebook site, our Twitter site, especially Facebook, you'll get all kinds of recipes on infusing different flavors in the water, whether it's raspberries, cucumbers. I mean, people have got all these recipes out there. So we have a huge, huge fan base on Facebook.
So, Darwin, this is an enhanced water, is that correct term?
Yes, we're the first ones to have a functional beverage water, a functional water. And so I always call it a functional / beneficial water, because it's very functional for your body. It gives you that high pH. It gives you what your body needs. It gets you from the acidic state, the alkaline state. It's very easy to drink. There's no heaviness. There's no bloating, as I said. So you get this functionality with it, and all of a sudden you feel better. You're getting these health benefits with the high pH and the high alkalinity. So yes, it fits all of those factors.
And it tastes good because you've added calcium, magnesium, and potassium?
Well, that's in there, but there's such minute amounts. There's only enough to have the aquaporins open up so you can have hydration. There is no taste to this water whatsoever. The reason it tastes good and feels good is because it's so thin. It's less dense. It's like if you took whole milk and then skim milk as an example. The skim milk is very thin. So when you drink my water next to any other water, you will notice that texture difference. And that texture allows you to take it in as fast or as slow as you want, to enjoy it. It slides down. You're not having to swallow gulp after gulp. It just slides down. People I've never had a person come to me and say, I can't drink this water. They come to me and they go, wow, I normally don't drink water. I drank this whole bottle while we're having dinner. So it's a very easy water to drink. It will get you hydrated. It will get you properly hydrated. Tap water will get you hydrated, but it's a long process because things have to be eliminated, things have to be brought in. This is ready to go. It hydrates you instantly.
Now, you also mentioned the idea of chlorine, and I know we in the United States chlorinate our water, which kills bacteria, but the Europeans do not chlorinate their water. The Europeans ozonate their water, do they not?
For some countries do, yes. Yeah, most of them do.
Since you work with water as your life, as your profession, in your opinion, is one better than the other? One system?
I think the ozonated, in my mind, is better, but it's more expensive and it's harder to handle than what we do over here. So.
But the Europeans in general favor ozonation of water, do they not?
I believe that's correct. Yeah, everywhere I go in Europe, I see more of it than the chlorine.
Because
yes.
I have read that recently some studies have been coming out that the young athletes who swim in high school and in college on the swim teams, there's so much chlorine in the pools that many of these young athletes literally are considered asthmatic patients. And they say it's from their exposure to the chlorine in the pools. They're working out, I guess, 5 and 6 days a week.
I would have to agree with that. I don't know the studies, but I think that's a fairly I'll say unfair comparison because the chlorine that's in the water to pure.
It's unfair. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot more chlorine in that swimming pool. I mean, you can't drink that water. They're
right.
They're absorbing it through their skin. Right. They're really exposed to a lot of chlorine. The chlorine that's in our systems is fine. The problem with it is that it has to be removed before you can have hydration. I have never heard of anybody, getting sick. I don't like the smell of the chlorine. So I just don't like the taste of it. I don't want to know what's in the water. Yes, it's a poison, but it's very minute. So if you're drinking tap water, I would trust my tap water source. It's not near as good, not near as easy to drink, definitely not functional, definitely not beneficial, but it's not going to hurt you. At least you're drinking tap water and not soda or beer.
Right.
You're drinking water. And it takes a little longer, doesn't have the benefits, but I'd much rather have you because of budget constraints or you just don't notice the difference. Some people, it doesn't bother them. They're happy with the tap water. Then drink it. But please drink half your body weight a day converted to ounces. So if you're 120 pounds, please try to drink 60 ounces of water a day.
60 ounces of water is how much water?
It's a little bit more in this bottle. I tell people to drink 1.5 liters for sure. This is 50 some ounces because the rest of the day you might have a cup of coffee in the morning, you might have a cup of tea in the afternoon, you might even have a beer or a glass of wine in the evening. You're getting a lot of water from your food. But if you drink one of these a day, the average person, that's all you need. We have people that drink 2 and 3 a day. I drink probably 2 a day, but I'm around it all the time. And I have 1 cup of espresso in the morning. I'm at the office. We all are carrying our Essentia around. I get in the car, I take my Essentia. I go fishing, I take my Essentia. No matter where I go, I have Essentia. Except when I get to Europe. It's very, very hard on me over there. But I will buy I don't drink their tap water.
You're drinking Apollinaris?
I drink just a plain bottled water. I'm not much on the mineral water. I want it to be as tasteless as possible. Cool, refreshing, tasteless. I don't want the mineral taste. But
you don't like the heavy mineral taste?
Well, I'm going to get that heaviness out of the plain water over there too because it hasn't been ionically separated. Mm-hmm. So no matter what water I drink, I'm going to get the heaviness. I'm just not a mineral water fan. Taste of it.
Well, Darwin Chevalier of Essentia Water, it's been a pleasure having you on my show, and here's to your health. And once again, where can we purchase your water?
Well, depending what state you live in, just go on our webpage, look on the top up there. It tells you where to purchase, where to buy. Put in your state, and we'll give you a list of all the accounts in your state, all the major accounts. If there's nothing close to you, there's an 800 number on the bottle. Call us. Give us your zip code. We'll tell you all the stores within your zip code. But we just can't possibly put 4,000 to 6,000 retailers on our deal, and they're growing every day. Right. So it's just we put the major ones on, so that helps you there. But just call us if you can't find one.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
This is Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. Our guest has been Darwin Chevalier of Essentia Water, 9.5 pH water, very popular now. And please stay with us. We're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Mountain Valley Spring Water, since 1871, has been bottled at the source in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Twice named the best tasting water in the world, Mountain Valley Water is naturally alkaline and bottled in glass, providing the perfect blend of nature's minerals, giving you a crisp, clean taste. To start your home and office delivery in Southern California, call us at 1-800-499-9982 or visit us online at www.mountainvalleywaterla.com. New customers will receive their first 2 5-gallon bottles free. Mountain Valley Water, the official sponsor of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane on LA Talk Live.
Hi, this is Susie Pruden. And yes, you've seen me on Oprah, Good Morning America, and The Today Show. And I'm inviting you to join me every Monday from 3 to 4 for my new show, Mastermind Live. Join us as we introduce you to the new thought leaders of the world who will inspire you, support you, and guide you to your next level. So don't forget to tune into Mastermind Live exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
West Coast Stand Up, it's your boy Omar Ray, a.k.a. Suge Gotti. Forbidden Tuesdays with the Gems, 9 p.m. LA Talk Live. Let's get it.
Hi, I'm Jerry Bell of the Daz Band in New Birth. And I'm Brahima Arsalan, inviting you to join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time for Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics, baby. Join us as we play some of the greatest hits of soul and R&B and listen in to interesting discussions with the legends of the music. So don't you forget, join us on the Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics. You'll love it. Exclusively on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio.
Or watch us and listen directly at latalklive.com, baby.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure.
This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk, baby. We are music.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hands can do incredible things. They made every sound in this piece of music. But nothing compares to using them to help save a life. If an adult suddenly collapses, call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of their chest until help arrives. It's called Hands-Only CPR, and it's recommended by the American Heart Association. Visit handsonlycpr.org today. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Oh, your skin looks great.
Thank you.
What's your secret?
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence.
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence?
Yes, it's a beauty secret used since the time of the Greeks and Romans. The spa in Malibu told me about frankincense and myrrh by Ancient Essence, and now my skin is lovely.
Well, your skin looks great.
Call Ancient Essence at 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Call 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret. Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Available at fine spas and beauty centers.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio, television, transmedia network. By the way, we were recognized by the Screen Actors Guild as the first in a new category of media in August of 2012 called Transmedia. We are an internet, radio, and television station. And my next guest is Yvonne Beauvais, one of the editors of Elegant Living magazine, which you see around here in California, but I think, is it national?
We're regional right now,
Regional.
but we're hoping to eventually become national.
And you have Shana Twain on the one of the early covers. And this magazine is a lifestyle magazine. You talk about jewelry and beautiful cars and homes and wellness. Is that right?
Well, actually, we have a dedicated wine section, which is the largest dedicated wine section in all of Southern California, and we cover wines from this country and international wines. And we have a dedicated inspired bride section. And then it's lifestyle. I do all the wellness and all the green and all the organic and all the consciousness kind of living articles to help empower people with information so that they can make better choices for their life.
And of course, the whole idea of, I use the broad term green lifestyle, is something that everyone's interested in, but certainly the affluent, educated consumer is very interested as well.
I agree, and I try to educate all strata of people, but this is a platform that we have that does address that part of the population, and I try to teach people about how chemicals affect their body, to eat organic and to not eat genetically modified organisms in their food, and how to treat their bodies in a natural, holistic way. Medicine has its place, but there's a lot of things that you can take, like essential oils, that will help to heal your body also. And so the one that I did on the chocolate that we're talking about today was kind of a consciousness-raising article to inform people that there's child slave labor behind much of the chocolate that we eat in our consumers market today, and that it's not, it's a luxury food item, and yet we eat it at the cost of little children who are enslaved for up to 18 hours a day, taking it against their will and worked so that we can have a non-essential food item. And don't get me wrong, I love chocolate. But there are many companies that do not use child slave labor in the production of their chocolate, and those are the ones that I go rah-rah for.
And was that in this issue of here on the chocolate?
I have a number of the organic companies.
No, but was it in this issue of
yes.
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 I happened to read that, and I thought that was a very interesting article, which I did not know that information. And chocolate exclusively comes from Africa?
No, we have a lot of it that comes from the Caribbean and from Central and South America. In different parts of the world, but a good portion of our chocolate comes from Ghana and the Ivory Coast, in which there is child slave labor that is used. And these children can be 3, 4, 5, 6 and on up, and they're not educated, and they're exposed to toxins and chemicals, and they carry a workload which is damaging to the developing bodies. They're not educated, and they're subjected to toxins and poisons and chemicals and all those things, and they're just babies.
And where did you learn that information?
Well, because I'm such an advocate for justice, let's say, that I'm always researching, and over time it was something that came to my awareness, and I was given the opportunity to write about it.
I see. I see. And why now? I eat chocolate because it tastes good. Are there any health benefits of chocolate?
Oh my goodness, yes. One is emotional.
Oh, really?
There's chemicals that help to make you feel good. There's antioxidants that are in chocolate. It's kind of a comfort food. I find nothing wrong with chocolate. I happen to be a fond advocate of it. But I think, all in all, I try to help people become conscious consumers. So if you find chocolate, I would say almost 100% of your organic chocolates are fair traded. And if it's fair traded, then you know that there was no child slave labor involved in the production of the chocolate. And the Rainforest Alliance has gone in, and when you have fair traded, that means that there's an equitable return. The farmers and the people working are paid for their services. They're not enslaved for their services, and that there's fair labor practices that are involved. There's no child slave labor, and children are empowered to be educated, and even if they want to work, they have to have permits at the age of 15, which parents have to sign. They can't work more than so many hours a day, and they are more than encouraged to finish their education. So that's what the Rainforest Alliance has gone in and done, and the organic companies It's a whole support system there to make sure that these products are all fair traded, that all the way down through the consumer, from the producer to the consumer, we have a very fair product that has been produced fairly and equitably and is healthy for the consumer by the time they receive it and eat it.
And so when I buy chocolate, there'd be a little label on it that would say fair trade.
Yes.
Fair trade.
It'll be like a little circle you'll see, and it says fair traded. And even if it's not organic and it says fair traded, there's a lot of equitable discernment that's gone into the production of the chocolate. So you have your major companies, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
No, please, yeah, go ahead, you can. Yeah.
Hershey's and M&M are the two largest companies that use child slave labor, and though there is a consciousness about it, and
Hershey's does really?
Yes.
Oh, that's too bad.
And you have Nestle's and Cadbury and a lot of the common chocolates that we see. So sometimes you think you're getting a deal because you're not paying as much for your chocolate, but you're not, because there's a lot of unseen factors that are there before you ever see it on the shelf. And I think there's an awareness that's being made, but we're not there 100% yet. And even if they get some chocolate that's not slave labor, it's kind of all pooled into a pool of chocolate that goes out in the marketplace. And if it's from the Ghana, Ivory Coast, most likely there's child slave labor involved.
All righty. In that case, what companies, in your opinion, that we can buy, say, at Whole Foods or in other natural foods grocery stores or regular grocery, what brands do you like?
Newman's Own is the largest purveyor of organic chocolate. They've really been amazing advocates in making things very equitable and justice in the whole chocolate trade industry. So I really have to take my hat off to them.
Sure.
And I'm going to put my glasses on to read because I know them, but I don't want to get them wrong. Magnum ice cream bars is organic. Cliff Bar, Cloud 9, Dagoba.
Oh, Cliff Bar.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Cliff Bars are everywhere, aren't they not? Yes.
Every place,
they're everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere, and all their chocolate is going to be fair traded and organic. We have Denman Island, Gardner's Candies, Green and Black, which is one of my favorites.
Green and Black is very good, yeah.
Kahlua Candy Company, Copper's Chocolate, L.A. Burdick Chocolate, Montezuma's Chocolate, which is another one that I really like, Newman's Own Organics, which is about the largest. You have Omanahin, a cocoa bean company, Rapunzel Pure Organics, and the Endangered Species Chocolate, which I happen to buy a lot of their chocolate.
Oh, I've seen those around too, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have, I'm really conscious, and when I even go to check out, I always let the checkout person know, do you know the difference between chocolate that doesn't say fair traded and they say no? So I always tell them, and they go, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. So you have an option when you shop. But that's what a conscious consumer does. We have choices.
Right, we have choices.
And so I always try to empower people with enough knowledge so they can, and I think once people find the truth out about all of this, they really want to be supportive. They want to protect children.
I have a question too. Now, taste, of course, is very individual. But as you enjoy chocolate, when you discovered organic chocolate, in your opinion, is the organic chocolate products, are they better tasting than conventional chocolate, or is it the same?
Oh, I've had Belgium chocolate, and I'm not sure which market it comes from, and it can be absolutely delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And but I know that if I eat organic, that I know there was no chemicals involved, there's no pesticides involved. It's produced in a clean, conscious manner.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are really important to me in a world where we are absolutely inundated with poisons that eventually make us sick and can give us premature death.
Right.
So I try to help people be aware on every strata, including chocolate.
No, that seems very fair. And people do enjoy eating chocolate. And as you mentioned earlier, chocolate is a luxury item, really. It's a luxury.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what's the history of chocolate? When did we Europeans start using chocolate?
It goes way back. You can go back into the South American countries and the cocoa beans, and you can go back to the time of Montezuma, which is, that's huge history back then. And cocoa was very revered. It was considered a sacred food. And it's the endorphins that it releases,
mm-hmm.
and it mimics being in love. So when you, Valentine's Day, people buy chocolate because it raises your endorphins level like being in love raises your endorphins.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds very good, really.
So, but I think that was probably one of the largest sectors of history was in the Incas and during that time of Montezuma, and how chocolate was revered. And you'll see in a lot of the Hispanic countries, you'll see on Hispanic chocolate, you'll always see like Montezuma, or you'll see something Aztec or something on there, because that's kind of like the home of the cocoa bean and chocolate. But Africa too, and I don't know the African history on it. I know more the Hispanic Latin American history on chocolate.
So it was an indigenous crop that grew in, say, Guatemala, Mexico, El Salvador. Is that it?
In those countries and actually in South America, yes. And the pod was ground and used for religious rites, used as an aphrodisiac. And now we make hot chocolate, and we have chocolate this and chocolate that, and we coat our strawberries in chocolate and add it to our coffee. Coffee is another one to make sure that it's fair traded also, because there's a lot of child slave labor involved in the production of coffee. So
I see.
It's another one.
And coffee also, briefly, and coffee also has moved in a different direction now. So the idea of organic coffee, that has pretty much caught on, and fair trade, that has really caught on for coffee.
It is. Again, it's just people being conscious about what we're putting in our body and being conscious about how things are produced, that things are done rightly. We don't want to be selfish and just consume everything because it's wonderful. But who paid the price for our joy?
Right.
And how did they pay the price?
But actually, as far as being selfish, usually I think the organic stuff tastes better than the conventional stuff anyway.
I have to agree with you. There's no bitterness in it, which I really like.
Yeah, it really has a different taste.
It does.
And I know that the European Union has done studies on organic fruits and vegetables, and the European Union says that they have more food value.
Yes, it's much higher, the organic nutritional value. I did a whole article. I think it's in the current magazine that we have in Elegant Living on Organics.
Is this the new one? This Winter 212? No.
The one with Shania Twain is the most recent.
Shania Twain over here.
And then we have the one before that was Miss Tahiti on the cover, and we did it on the Society Islands. Yes, that one. And that's where the cocoa is in that. And this one I did on organics. And everything from the soil and how we treat the soil to the nutrient values to humectants that are in the soil that allow the nutrients to come in, just the whole way it's grown. And it's just it's more simple to grow organic than it is to grow with all these chemicals. So we have no excuse for not doing it right.
And we might move in that direction again. We'll see. I think at this point in the United States, less than 1% of all fruits and vegetables that are sold are grown organically.
I know it's not real high, but the demand is increasing.
Demand is increasing, yeah.
I know that I won't go in someplace unless I can buy something organic.
Yeah, there's much more demand for organic.
It is, and if you eat the chemicals, it does poison your body, and you will become sick, and you possibly could have premature death from the high level of toxins and pesticides that are inside your blood.
Right. No, I think we recognize that pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, they're problematic. And we know they might have a legitimate use, but they have a downside, and we do recognize the downside. And one thing that is widely known, that farmers have a very high occupational incidence of cancer from their exposure to pesticides.
True.
They poison themselves, and they poison the water on their farm, and they poison their family, and they poison the livestock, and that's pretty widely acknowledged now. It wasn't so much in the 70s, but now it is.
Yes, and I even remember back in the 70s, because I was kind of a hippie child back in the 70s, and even back then I was into natural and growing things, and I would blend things and eat things raw. I was just always in that genre of kind of that hippie mentality. So we had a big awareness of nutrition and vitamins, Prevention Magazine, all those things back then. And I think we've just become a lot more sophisticated now because we have a wider range of knowledge and access to knowledge so that we can educate and educate others.
And also, many things that we may have done when we were young, if the ideas had no merit, they would have simply been discarded as being, they were fashionable at one time, but they're no longer fashionable.
Yes.
But wellness has become not exactly mainstream, but approaching mainstream status because the ideas had merit.
Yes.
So things that we may have done when we were young that people were kind of made fun of turn out to be good ideas and have been picked up by the mainstream, and that's very nice.
It is. I'm actually also a wellness coach. So I work with people. Aside from being a journalist and an editor with a magazine, I also am a coach in wellness. And you'll find them cropping up even in hospitals. You'll see wellness centers, and spas have wellness centers. And then there's centers who incorporate all kinds of alternative modalities for maintaining your health that are called wellness centers. So you're right. There's a huge consciousness and awareness for, rather than treating sick people, of helping people to be healthy.
Right, but I will say this, but a lot of people have just simply, here's a term from the 60s and 70s, have simply co-opted the name, and what they offer is not really particularly holistic, but they've just kind of used the name.
Oh, that happens too.
That does happen.
That's
I know
true.
Joan Rivers, the comedian, said that when she was very young, that her mom was into natural childbirth. When Joan was born, she said the mom didn't wear makeup. I was like, was a great line from Joan Rivers, really. It was like, you have your own definition of what constitutes natural.
True.
And by the way, on Shania Twain is a very big star now, country star, but a crossover star. How did you get her to be on your front cover?
Well, she has her big comeback right now. She gives her life story and her tragic separation and divorce from her first husband and her amazingly beautiful remarriage to her second husband. And she is now over in Caesar's Palace. Oh. And she has her big comeback, and she's there now. And we've all been followers of her for a long time because I personally love her music. And I think she's a beautiful woman. She's got a beautiful spirit and beautiful heart. And so we were just really, I have to say, completely blessed to have her story and her on our cover. So we're her fans.
Well, that's good. That's very good. And the magazine Elegant Living, it comes out. You get 2 issues a year, every 6 months it comes out?
It's a biannual. It's a collector's item. It's a collector's magazine. And we go to the luxury niche marketplaces, and we try to feature articles and consumers or items for the consumers of this market, but it's really for anybody. There's a lot of things that I put in here that don't cost any more money than doing.
Right, exactly, right.
It would cross over to any genre of the population. So it's really a fun magazine to work for, and I'm privileged to meet a lot of wonderful people who are doing wonderful things to empower and to make our lives better.
And where can I pick up a copy of Elegant Living? Do you mail it to me? Is that it? How do I get it?
I'd be happy to mail you a copy, but you can find them in front of restaurants and inside doctors' offices and at hotels and country clubs and Gelson's markets. You'll actually find them in newsstands. We'll actually find them in newsstands. And so our distribution area is Beverly Hills. We have West Hollywood, West LA. We have Santa Monica, Malibu, Calabasas, Goree Hills, Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park, Camarillo, and we go up to Montecito and now up to Napa. So we're increasing, and our wine section has really increased our distribution to up to Napa Valley, up in that area.
I see. Well, Yvonne Beauvais of Elegant Living, I'd like to thank you for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health.
Oh, thank you so much, Josh. It was an absolute joy to be here. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This is Josh Lane. We're Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio, television, transmedia network. We're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Hi, this is Susan Levin, owner and founder of Speaker Services, inviting you to join me and co-host Jean Noel Bassiar on Monday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific, for our new show, Talk Up Your Business, Speak Your Way to More Profits. We'll be talking to you about how to use your expertise to grow your business or service through speaking. Our expert speakers and author guests will share their stories and success secrets with you. Don't forget to tune in to Talk Up Your Business Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starla Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dawn Christie, inviting you to join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for my all-new show, The Dawn Christie Show. Join me as I discuss love, spiritual readings, your purpose, why am I born, what am I here to do. So don't forget to tune in The Dawn Christie Show at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Do you suffer from degenerative diseases such as high blood pressure, diabetes, fibroid tumors, high cholesterol, genital herpes, or a plethora of other diseases that rob you of a quality life? If so, then visit the website of herbalist Tahuti Ma'atra at dhealthstore.com and open the door to natural healing at an affordable price. dhealthstore.com has over 1,800 products created by herbalist Tahuti Ma'atra, specifically designed to help you heal the natural and safe way. At dhealthstore.com, you'll find everything from herbal formulas and cleanses, such as Tahuti's famous Full Body Detox, as well as herbal teas, extracts, natural body butters, lotions, creams, children's products, hair care products, and of course, sexual enhancement products for both men and women. So visit the website of Tahuti Ma'atra, dhealthstore.com, or call toll free at 1-888-823-9416, dhealthstore.com.
Are you ready to enjoy the Maui lifestyle? You can have it all by owning real estate on the Paradise Island of Maui. Dennis Rush, a 22-year Maui resident and real estate broker, brings his wealth of experience and market knowledge to add value to your Maui real estate understanding, providing a level of service as unique and exceptional as the island of Maui itself. The magical island of Maui was voted the most exclusive resort island in the world by Condé Nast Traveler, and keep in mind, Maui is only a simple, non-stop flight away. Hawaii Business Magazine Top 100 Realtors awarded Dennis Rush the 2011 fourth top realtor on the island of Maui. Go to www.dennisrush.com to view all of the amazing properties currently available in the Maui MLS system. Whatever your needs or desires, Dennis Rush will provide a private consultation for any Maui properties your heart desires. You will be in good hands. Once again, go to www.dennisrush.com. That's www.dennisrush.com. Contact Dennis today to start your Maui lifestyle now. Dennis Rush, proud sponsors of the Dawn Christie Show and LA Talk Live.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Internet radio television station, a transmedia station, the first in a new category of media, Internet radio television. My next guest is Stephen Jennings, who is involved with wellness and also has been an important motivational speaker, and as a young man had some success in life and then had a terrible automobile accident and was very badly damaged. So badly damaged that unfortunately he thought, and people thought, oh, this young man might pass away. And even if the young man didn't pass away, and he didn't, the doctor said, oh, well, you really are in very bad shape. You'll never walk. You're in bad shape. And that young man is here now, and he is well and strong and teaches on nutrition and motivational speaker. Steve, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Great to be here. It is.
Thank you. And that introduction was very fast, but kind of captured you. So as a young man, you were not involved with wellness at all? You had to learn the subject?
Well, no, I actually was involved in wellness even when I was a young kid, even though I grew up so poor.
in Texas. As you might have known, I used to, about 10 years of my life, I had to eat out of trash cans to survive. Our family was so poor.
Now, excuse me. Now, when I did read that on your website, and I thought, so in other words, your mom and dad, they were ill, they didn't work, or what?
Well, we just had my dad wanted to work, but work was hard to come by. It was hard paying the bills, and he was a oil field hand, but he didn't always have the opportunity to work, and lots of times he had to end up just digging ditches for like $8 a day in the hot Texas sun.
Oh my God!
So that was pretty tough on the family. And then when you got a mountain of bills piling up, it's kind of difficult to pay for dead horses, is what we called it. And so it was just a mountain of bills kept piling up. And so we just had to sort of just really pull together and do the best we could, and kind of lived in a whiteboarded shack and just made the best of it. And so it was tough growing up, but at the same time, interesting enough, I had no real influence as far as wellness and health. But I just had my own interest in it, even though we really didn't have much of a life, of meager beginnings. But by the time I was 21, before I even graduated from from college, I actually ended up having my first health food store as a young man at the age of 21 in 1976. So do the little math on that, and you'll see what my age is.
It was a long time ago.
Long time ago. So I was so very much involved with it. So I sort of had a bit of an edge in a way as far as health and peak performance and wellness when I was seriously injured later on in my life when I was 27. I'd been through a lot of things in life and high school athletics and college football and things like that.
Oh, so you played ball in college?
Yeah.
Can I ask where'd you go?
I went to Sam Houston State University.
Ah.
It's in Texas. And what
was your position?
I was a defensive halfback.
Oh my goodness.
Played strong safety, those kind of positions. But and you get hurt and things like that as well. But you also learn how to rehabilitate. And things are pretty tough back in that era, as far as the firmness, the seriousness, the toughness, how they are on players, and so you learn to be strong. And so the thing is, with my interest in health and wellness that I had as such a young guy, coupled with just learning how to overcome and be strong and rehabilitate and regenerate and restore yourself, it really helped me when I moved into this incredible circumstance that happened when I was left on the side of the road in a river of my own blood, and they thought I was dead, no heartbeat, no respiratory function. The German police, when I was in Europe, this happened.
Oh, this happened in Europe?
Yes.
Oh, you were on vacation?
Yes. Actually, I was working over there on a short assignment. I actually had been really lucky. I got to go to New York to be able to be employed by a company there. And I got an opportunity to have a real short stint of time in Europe. Well, while there, I went to Germany because I was living in Germany at the time, and I went across Checkpoint Charlie, which is across East Berlin, and went out to the countryside, and this is where the accident referred to happened.
And so you were in East Berlin when this happened?
I was in East Berlin. I was just outside, about 20 kilometers out.
Oh my God! So therefore, the response time probably wasn't very good, and the equipment wasn't very good.
No, it was pretty
American.
It was pretty ancient, so to speak. It was pretty much like being in World War II, East Germany at the time. It was pretty tough and pretty hard, but I was ultimately moved to a bit of a better hospital. But right at first, it was pretty tough, although I really wasn't, quite conscious at the time. But the thing is, without talking so much about the accident, dealing with the wellness aspect and being able to recover when the odds are stacked against you, they say, well, the best chance you have is maybe, if you're lucky, you might walk again, maybe. But
you were 27.
Yeah, I was 27.
And excuse me, and when I looked on your website, I looked at the car and I thought, because I like cars.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell what kind of car it was. It was so bashed up.
Yeah, I think it was a Scirocco, is what it was.
Okay.
That's
a Volkswagen.
Yeah. It was pretty smashed up, as you see, and so it's kind of hard to make it out, but I believe that's what it was. It was a rental car. It wasn't my car.
And some big truck hit you?
I got hit by a farm truck, an old East German farm truck, looked like a World War II truck. I really didn't get to see it too much because it came out of the overgrowth of the forest there so fast. I didn't really have an opportunity to move, and basically torpedoed me and just crushed me in the vehicle, and that was it. And so I was just in a hurricane of hell that I noticed at the beginning, but then after that I just, I was unconscious at that point. I won't go into circumstances of how I, saw my body and things of this nature, But there are some thoughts and things I certainly remember at the time, and I didn't want to leave with so much, behind. And so it really changed your outlook on a lot of things in life as far as how you live and how you got to make the best of today and things of that nature. So being in the wellness realm, getting back into that, it really helped me a lot in order to restore and regenerate my body. A lot of people talk about the mind-body connection, but it's just talk. They read it in a book or they hear it on CD or go to a seminar and get inspired. But when you really have to live it, you really have to pull your body together, mind, body, soul, and spirit truly, and create cellular regeneration from within and become as one. Instead of just talking about it, but actually now you've got to do it. How am I going to do it? I have spinal cord injuries and multiple broken bones and body, and just internal injuries. I mean, I was crushed. And so I was in bad shape.
Excuse me, and of course, did you speak German?
No, I didn't. Well, I actually learned a little bit of German. Yes, I did. I picked it up, some of the words.
So you're an American kid, young man, and you're terribly injured, and you're in a hospital where you have no insurance in Germany, right?
No, I didn't require insurance. They pretty much, it was communist, East Germany, so they took me in. I'm glad they didn't perform lobotomies on me or something like that, experiments, but that didn't happen.
They actually gave you pretty good care, though, in retrospect?
In retrospect, yes. I seem to...
The era?
I seem to get a relationship with the people, the doctors and the nurses and the help there. I seem to develop a certain relationship where there was not that they didn't care for others, but there was a certain relationship that was built, and I think they really cared in helping me come back.
Well, that's nice to hear.
So I can say that they're good people. They're pretty stern and very firm with what they do, but they're very helpful. I'll just say that. And but the coming back.
How long were you in the hospital in Germany?
There about 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So a long time.
It's a long time.
To be able to where I could actually get beyond the wheelchair and begin to move a little bit.
Did anybody know where you were?
No, not really. Well, there was some contact, but as far as my immediate family and things like that, no, they did not know. They did not know. At that time in my life, I'd been traveling and moved to New York and doing my own thing and everything like that. I wasn't in contact with them every day. That's not kind of relationship we had.
Right.
I was just on the go and move, and my oldest brother, he moved on. My sister did the same thing, and my brother as well. So we just moved on in life. We were just doing our thing. So they figured, well, Steve's just out there somewhere, and so I guess he'll get in contact when he does.
Right.
So that's what happened.
Right.
But they did not know. So it was a long journey back. It took me 4 years to walk normally, to get my neurological function back, to where I could walk and really walk like you would call normally.
Mm-hmm.
But then to run again, as I really wanted to do, that really took about 14 more years on top of that. So about 2 decades of my life coming back. So there's a lot to learn. And when you're in a hospital bed, half paralyzed, you get sort of a thought about, what life is really all about. And I also want to say, I know I'm not the only one that's been very hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because during rehabilitation, I was with a lot of people that were severely hurt, that had no limbs, that were blind, that couldn't speak. And I knew that, my legs were still attached, so I'm a lucky guy, where they didn't have legs. So if I had a chance, even if it was as small as a mustard seed, I had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to make the most of that chance to come back. And that's where so much of today when I work and I speak and before groups, as far as the comeback and as far as against the odds and overcoming your challenges and defeating your fears and never giving up and holding on to your dreams. I had, a couple of decades to work on this. I didn't read these things in a book.
Right.
I wasn't like a personal development type person reading about powerful this or powerful that. I had to learn in the trenches about these things, what it really meant. And so I share a message of you can overcome the odds. And it's not just health and wellness. It's, financially, it's in your career, your relationships, business, because I'm very much, a business consultant is my primary work that I do. And I'm a natural products industry consultant for about over 20, 25 years now, as a profession. I have my own consulting, firm. And so I work with companies. I help them be their best, and so they can succeed in so many, ways that a corporation needs to do that.
Mhm.
And so it's many, many ways that I incorporate, the message of achieving success, overcoming. And so it's just naturally sort of become something that's intertwined and interwoven together as far as the message of wellness and health. Because, of course, I started out as a young guy, wanting to, be a sports guy,
Mhm. Sure.
be a good student as well.
But you played college ball, so
Yeah.
that'd be a pretty good athlete.
Well, yeah, but I played with a lot of great athletes, a lot of guys that went to pros, and I wasn't that good. I mean, you got to be good to get on the college, football field, you bet. But
Are they much bigger than you?
a lot of guys are bigger than me. I'm 5'11", played at about 192, and so I wasn't a huge guy, but I was big enough to be on the football field, for sure. But I wasn't 250 pounds or something like
Right,
that.
but even in the 70s, some of the guys were bigger than you. Way
Oh, they were
bigger.
huge.
Yeah, right.
I mean, our linemen were 280, at the time. They're not like 300 pounds plus now, but we had big people. And we had, incredible athletes that were on our team that went on to play professional football. I don't want to start naming names, but
Right.
we had several guys that went on to play in the NFL. And so I was around a lot of good people, and I would call them good athletes. I would call myself marginal at best. I was enough to pull it off because I wanted it so bad, to fight to be there. I was just good enough to be there, and so I was. But the learning of wellness and health and peak performance and the term sports nutrition, that's something that I was involved with in the 60s
Right.
as a kid, before sports nutrition was even coined as a term. I was reading studies from LSU as far as, recovery from sprains and, various nutrients that can help do this, the bioflavonoids, vitamin P, if you want to call it that, help reducing sprains, inflammations, and whatnot.
Mhm.
There are studies that they had, and we didn't have the internet back then either. So I just gathered everything I could, and by the time I was about 11 or 12, I was really, studying a great deal. And of course, by the time I was 21, before I even got out of, college, I had started, with the help of a few other people, working with me, to have a health food store, because by that time I'd read just about everything there possibly could be.
Who'd you read? Bernard Jensen?
Oh yeah, if we went down the list,
Herbert Shelton?
we could go down the list and keep going. As far as
Dr. Arola?
Pablo Arola, one of my favorites from back in the day.
Sure.
You bet. Absolutely.
And what was the name of your store in the 70s?
Steve's Health Food Heaven.
Okay. That's kind of a name from the era.
Should have
Yeah.
brought you a picture of it.
Yeah, that's one of the names from the era.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I was a young guy. But so from that, I went on to play college football and did this and that, and went to New York City. Then came back, and my God, Europe, and then all the rehabilitation. So, but I used the talents that I had, the strengths that I had in the wellness world, and of course my formal education, studies, to pull together a life in the wellness industry as far as being a health consultant. And from there, I started working with companies and helping them. And so as far as the industry today, as it stands today in 2013, I work with a lot of things behind the scene with companies, as far as things that will be out in the marketplace maybe a year or two in advance,
Uh-huh.
where people don't really know it today in the marketplace. But I help them move their companies and their projects out there. Don't want to start mentioning all the names of companies, but if somebody went into Whole Foods and just looked on the shelf, I'd say a good 25, maybe 30% of those products out there, I probably had a little something to do with, in one form or fashion, a good percentage of those products. Maybe
Wow,
not,
that's a lot.
maybe not that many, but there are some people that are consultants behind the scenes, so to speak, that work for companies. They'll have their own marketing teams and research and development teams and things like that, but they do have certain consultants that do certain things for them specifically to target certain things with their corporations and companies to make them grow and build and have success.
Sure.
So I do that as well. But as far as the personal development, that's my heart and soul. That's my passion. That's my purpose. That's what I do. To help people overcome and achieve and live their dreams and never, never, never give up on your dreams. There's such power in that. It's not just words. And so I let people know, and if people go to my website, stevejennings.com, they'll see that I'm the no BS personal development leader. It's what I do. It's no BS. Yeah, I'm from Texas, but I just sort of tell it like it is. I'm a tough luck guy about it. I know Dr. Phil's the guy that does his thing, but we're both Texans, by the way. But I like to get to the point. I don't want to waste people's time. I know people need care. They need compassion. They need to have people care for them. But
they do.
You also have to just tell it like it is. You've got to lay it down. And so some things you've got to be very pragmatic, assess the circumstance where they are in their life, whether it's their business, whether it's their career, whether it's their finances, whether it's their relationships, whether it's working with others, whether it's in a human resource division that I work with many times in corporations to get them organized, whether it's corporate wellness that I work with in corporate wellness, having them have a better working environment, a healthy building environment.
That's certainly important enough.
Very, very important. Whether it's lighting, air quality, nutrition breaks, and energy breaks that they have. So many things are involved with making a corporate a vibrant, live, peak performing business so that they can actually improve and have less recidivism rates, people ill, people sick. You need productive workers. And so there's so many things I do in this industry, not just wellness and working in the natural products industry. But when I speak, there's really some bottom lines on things. And people talk about, your life purpose, your reason for things. And it kind of gets ethereal sometimes, and I'm okay with ethereal thinking. Because you've got to believe that you can manifest some things that are unseen. You can make them the intangible tangible. But the thing is, you got to know what you want. And a lot of people, you'd be surprised, they don't know exactly what their purpose is in life, whether it's to help others, whether it's to build a big company or have a great life or good relationships with others or be super healthy or be an athlete or be a CEO or be a good teacher. They've got to really know what they want. And the thing is, if you know what you want and you know you're going to get there, those two things, very important. You got to know what you want, know what you're going to get there. So if you know this first part, you know what you want. And you know you're going to get there because you want it bad enough. And when you want it bad enough, that's the number one rule. You'll find a way. You will find a way. All this middle part, the how part, that matters, but because you have strategy, you have to implement, certain, systems, you have to get your data together, you have to get organized, but people get bogged down in this how part way too much. If you know what you want and you know you're going to get there, you'll get there. So this how part takes care of itself.
So you teach people, you ask them, what do you want?
Yeah, they've got to know. There's a system I take them through as far as, things they need to write down personally. In their lives, it isn't just say, okay, I'm going to write my goals down. That's okay, but that's just starters. There's many things you have to do, and you have to understand the issue of personal responsibility, desire, determination, and intensity. And those are words that are three words that most people hear a lot in our lives, but by the time you pass the 40-year line most of the time, and we're certainly past that now, Josh, they get kind of like ho-hum words where most people don't hear a lot about them. It's like, oh, yeah, desire, determination, intensity. But I tell you what, if you bring those words and you give them life into your life, and you really understand the definition of those, and you actually define your own definition of those personally, you'll find that this knowing what you want, and you're going to get there because you'll find a way. It happens because you have the desire, determination, intensity. Things will come into your life. You will draw what's necessary into your life to make these things happen. You'll find a way. That's what it's called. So personal responsibility is key. You can't.
And personal responsibility.
You have to be accountable.
Can you teach that to someone?
You can actually explain it, and you can give examples of personal responsibility.
I mean, here's my question.
Yeah.
Let's say you're lecturing to high school students. You got a bunch of 15-year-old boys and 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Well, the concepts, the ideas that you mention are really very adult concepts. And I'm sure these 15-year-old kids have no idea what you're talking about until you explain it to them.
Well, a very fundamental thing.
I'm just asking.
Okay, we have schoolwork, clearly. And you have to develop good habits. Habits are key. Action habits are vital.
No, but wait. So if you are the teacher and you assign me to read this chapter in American history and I read it and I learn it, okay, I've learned it. But as a 15-year-old, I know nothing about responsibility, do I? Unless, of course, my parents have taught me.
Well, you have a responsibility not only to yourself but to others that you come in contact with. Responsibility to...
But do you know that at 15?
Well... so much of that...
You have to learn it, don't you?
You have to learn it, but well, we do have parents, but parental guidance today is perhaps not exactly the same. We have a different era in life today that changes that as well. And the parents that are parents today were, maybe they didn't get the best guidance as well.
Right.
So you sort of have, people that perhaps aren't always the best guidance counselors or guidance leaders as
they might not be.
As the family, so to speak, as the leaders in the family. But as far as people learning it, there's also a desire to. A lot of times you don't have to teach people that, but you can give them examples as far as, fundamental things in school, like homework, obeying, respecting, these kinds of things, the personal responsibility to do that. There are rules, there are laws, there are guidelines, there are certain things that you must follow to get ahead. There's a track you're on that you must take, and it's your responsibility to do so. And there's some good things, as you move along up the ladder of life. If you are personally responsible, you are personally accountable for what you do in life. And so personal accountability, and not saying it's somebody else's fault, or that's too hard for me, or, oh, I got a bad deal, or it just, I'm my bum luck, or something like that.
People do get bad deals.
And they do.
People do get bad deals. Sometimes they get remarkably bad deals.
But that's bouncing back, and that's overcoming the odds, even when things are so-called unfair.
And there is also a lot of unfair, too. In the real world, as an older man, I see that clearly, that a lot of things I didn't understand when I was a much younger man, as a teenage boy in my 20s, I say, oh my God, these people really are taking a pounding. These people are really taking a pounding. And the whole idea of taking personal responsibility, that's a concept that has to be learned. I don't think you're necessarily born knowing that.
You're not born knowing that. Some people, you'd be surprised, but a very small percentage. It's a learned behavior. You better believe it. But we're talking behavior, and behavior is developed upon habits that you do, action habits that you follow every day. But without going into a full-blown seminar that
you can, if you wish. I'm happy to hear it.
That I would give and I would lay out, from beginning to end through basically, there's 8 rules I usually outline within a program. And I actually have a book that's coming out, Your Personal Life Warrior Within. It'll be coming out soon. And
Your Personal Life Warrior Within.
Your Personal Life Warrior Within.
And when will it be coming out?
Well, it's actually it deals with the Invincible Warrior, the Invincible Warrior series of materials that I have, and programs that I have, and online programs that people can access if they'd like. Go to stevejames.com, sign up, and they can find out about these things. It lays everything down. But as far as the personal responsibility aspect, the accountability thing, the people, everybody's got a way of learning.
Right.
Lots of times. What they hear, what they perceive. That's also very critical. A lot of people, they have, perceptions as they've grown up, things that have hurt them or helped them, their impressions of things. And we say the exact same words to somebody, they don't hear it the same way, the exact same words.
Correct.
People listening on the radio today, they're going to hear me, but they'll only hear sometimes what they hear. We could put a neon sign, lights, and doesn't mean they're going to hear it, or even see it right in front of them. They have to learn their own way sometimes. So there's many ways that you teach to reach, how you make somebody get it. But so I go into all of this, but as far as people's perceptions, that's really something that's a large thing to overcome sometimes, because they were treated perhaps not the best as they were young, and they keep these misheld beliefs of maybe they're not good enough, or you'll never learn, or well, you could never do that, or they say I never could do that. People told me, I don't want to always give my example, because people have their examples too, but people told me I was just going to be just trash, because I literally ate trash out of trash cans for almost 10 years to survive. So I could have it in my head, well, maybe I'm just like the trash I'm
if I
eating.
can ask a personal question then. So if things were really that not good at home, how did you manage to have the good sense to go to university?
Well, I had some examples around me, and I wanted it bad enough. It was
Did your older brother and sister go?
Well, my family life was tough, and I'll just go ahead and say it right here. I had 2 brothers and 1 sister, and none of them made it out of high school. It was so tough on us growing up. And if I'll just go ahead and say, I made it out of high school. I was a top student athlete in my high school, both academic and college sports scholarships, athletic scholarships. So I made it. I wanted to do better myself, and I just wanted more. I did not want to be in the pit that I grew up in. And so I wanted more. And I didn't want to be what people told me that I was supposed to be. I was no good.
So you saw older brothers and sisters and you thought, oh, I don't want that for me.
Well, there were so many things that got in the way. They're good people, but you get sidetracked. You get bad influences.
You do. It happens, yeah.
You get influences. We're poor. You got to just fend for yourself. It's pretty tough. And we pulled together as a family, but at the same time, we could not rely on much for sustenance in life. And going to school on an empty stomach wasn't the best way to be a Rhodes Scholar.
It's not a great way at all.
I can tell you that. But
Were you a real skinny kid?
I was kind of skinny, kind of lean. Yes, I was. Walk to school, be lucky to find maybe a nickel on the sidewalk and maybe a dime or something like that. And I'd go to the little stores that we have. They're not quite 7-Elevens that they do today. And I'd buy a little cupcake and maybe a little carton of milk. And to me, that was breakfast for a king.
I got you.
I had some food. I was happy. But going to school, so hungry for all those years just wasn't so good.
No.
You just did the best you could. But of course, I wasn't the only one, and I knew that. And my mother would tell us that other people were suffering. They had it much worse than we did. We probably heard it as we were kids. People are suffering in Africa and India. They don't even have a chance to beg for anything because there's nothing to beg for. And I knew that, I could at least look in a trash can or, collect bottles, do odd jobs. At 4 years of age, I was collecting bottles, for something, in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years old. I mean, that's what I was doing to have something to make it. And so you learn self-reliance. And that was something she told us, if there's a way, you'll find a way. And I learned that young,
Were your older brothers nice to you and sisters?
Yeah. They're good people. They actually end up getting their GEDs. My older brother actually ended up, graduating college afterwards. Huh. So he's a great guy, but you get sidetracked with bad influences, and the upbringing's tough. It happens.
It does happen.
They're good people. I just tried to stay on track. I was the youngest kid, and I looked up as a little kid, and I saw all the trouble that was happening around me. My older brother, and then 5 years older than me, and then my other brother, and my sister, about 4 years older than me, all the trouble they were going through. So I was observing, what they were going through, and I said, man, I've got to work my way through this. Mm-hmm. And so I looked at it that way. So I had, an advantage, if you want to call it that. I saw all the hell that was going on, the strife and the struggle and the pain and the strain, in our family. Because finances does it to a lot of families, not just our family.
Finances. It doesn't give you a moment's peace, does it? Every day you can't pay the mortgage, you can't pay the rent, you can't pay the phone. It doesn't give you a moment's peace. It just kind of crushes you, and it must really crushed your mom and dad.
It did. It was tough. They tried the best they could. Work was hard to come by. My father was not an executive type guy. Wasn't a real self-starter, and he was just a manual laborer, and he did the best he could. He was a good man, good father, did what he could. Worked hard, but just didn't work, high-paying jobs, and couldn't always get a job. As an oil field hand in Texas, in the refineries and the oil derricks and things like that, where they had, the oil industry there in that area of Texas where I came from.
Where there was a lot of those men were working, but it was dangerous work too, was it not?
Very dangerous work. Oh my God, very dangerous. He got hurt a few times, but he didn't lose hands or fingers or limbs. But I saw men lose legs and hands and things like that as well. It's very dangerous out in those rigs. You better believe it. A lot of things can happen.
No, I know it's considered very dangerous. And so therefore, since you had a wellness kind of background, so as a teenage boy, as a young man in your 20s, you managed to avoid the whole drinking, drugging thing? You just thought, I'm not doing that?
I didn't get into drugs or alcohol, didn't smoke anything. I was just all the guys that will know me, that see me today, they'll look back and say, yeah, Steve Jennings, he was he was on a line to do right. I didn't get involved in those kind of things. I was like the guy that was, the wellness guy back in those days.
So that was just easy.
I was the health guy.
That was just easy for you. That just made sense to you.
Yeah. Well, I knew what I wanted. You see, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get a scholarship, and I wanted to do these things. I knew that was my only way out, and so this is what I did. I stayed online. I wasn't a perfect student. I wasn't a saint in life. Sure. I mean, I was a kid, but I still stayed on the line to what I wanted. You better believe it. But this is a message for a lot of people that they can overcome. And there's all sorts of challenges in life from a lot of areas. It's not just finances. It's in your family, or it's in your business, or it's in your career. These are real big challenges that people have. How can I get ahead? I mean, when are my prayers going to be answered? Even if you pray or don't pray, how am I going to do it? And there are fundamental steps that you can take to get started, to make this intangible thing tangible. And it's beyond the scope of what we can talk about now, but there are fundamental things that you can do and understand and incorporate within your life where you actually can put one foot in front of the other and begin to manifest a life, not just ethereal type thinking. I'm talking brass tacks, fundamental. These are some tangible things that you can do.
You want to give me start me with something? If I was a teenage boy or girl.
Okay, talk about it.
Tell me one thing. Because after all, when you're that age, I remember being that age. You don't know anything.
Well, let me
really.
say this: you really don't. But I don't want to discount the brains and the minds of
I'm not
a lot of
saying
these.
they're not smart.
They're extremely
but
bright.
The concepts we take for granted as adults, you and I.
Yeah, because we've lived some life and we've experienced
and
a
these
lot of
kids,
things.
you don't know as far as personal responsibility. And I was a kind of responsible kid. I'm not sure there was a concept I ever heard. I didn't understand any of that.
Well, let me explain. There are
how could I?
Even in our day, in our day, in the 60s, 70s, whatever, when we were in school, there were things called guidance counselors. Correct? Most schools had them.
Yeah, but the old joke was, do you want to take advice from this guy whose career is guidance counselor? Remember that old joke? I was like,
yeah, you're absolutely right.
I remember the guidance counselors in my school never did anything. They never talked to you about anything. You wanted to go into service, they didn't talk to you. You're going to drop out, they didn't talk to you. You're going to go to college, they didn't talk to you. I never remember them talking to you about anything.
No, and they give you these form tests and things like this to kind of see where you might best fit, whatever. And most time it was wrong anyway. Or you're no good at this, and this we ought to go do this, and whatever. It was pretty limited, I agree. But there were some areas where you can fundamentally, like what are your likes and dislikes? What's your passion? What interests you?
Your guidance counselor actually asked you that?
No, I'm saying this is what you really should do.
Right.
No, they didn't ask me that. What is your passion? What's your purpose? What do you really want to do? Do you even know what do you like? What interests you? You could ask anyone this. What stimulates you? What fires you? What stimulates your desire? What's that catalyst within you that kind of gets you energized? Kind of put some fire in you. What do you care about?
Well, those seem like important questions.
You had better believe it.
But those were not asked of us in high school.
No, they weren't. They didn't think about them. But
No.
this is formulated. This is where you get the fundamental understanding of knowing what you want and knowing you're going to get there. Because if you know your purpose and your reason, and then you have that fire of desire within you, and these aren't just words. These are things you have to really understand. What drives me? What's my reason?
Right. Those are good questions to ask.
And you read a lot today. What's my big why? What's the why that's going to drive you?
Mhm.
When everything could be telling you that you can't make it, you'll never make it. You got to stop. You got to quit. You got to give up. What's going to drive you to go beyond that? Say, no, I believe. I believe so deeply that I won't be stopped. I'm going to hold on to my dream. It's not a foolish dream. It's a dream that can be. It's a dream that I will make happen.
Right.
And it's such a journey of self-exploration and self-understanding. And I want to say, back in 1981, I knew a guy, and you'll know his name, Christopher Reeve.
Oh my goodness!
And I met him in New York.
The actor.
I met him in New York City, and I had some good conversations with.
You met him at his prime.
I met him right there at his prime.
Right.
And can you believe it? I find out in 1995 that he's had this incredible, horrible circumstance that happened, with this fall off a horse, where his C1, C2, cervical vertebrae is just severed. And so all of a sudden I'm reading about Christopher Reeve, the guy that I had met several times, had lunch a few times. We had some mutual acquaintances in New York City before I moved on, to Europe. He was an incredible comeback, fight against the odds. I mean, for him to live as he did, as well as he did, with the help that he had, was just mind-boggling. But his desire and his purpose and all the good he did to others, all the others are victims of spinal cord injuries and people that are paraplegic and on and on and on. How he inspired others through his life, through his example.
Well, actually, I
He
agree with you.
understood about that purpose and reason and drive and never giving up.
And he because of his fame,
You better believe
and
it.
you saw him in a wheelchair all of a sudden, and I think that was for a lot of us. I think for myself as well. You realize, people have injuries, spinal cord injuries. I didn't know much about it. I didn't see much about it.
That's right.
And now I have friends actually who have terrible injuries and are in wheelchairs, and one is an attorney of some renown, and I see what he has, how he has kind of suffers, but how he perseveres, and he's
Yeah.
not getting out of that wheelchair.
He may or may not. It all depends. I don't know his certain circumstance, and I'm not an orthopedic physician or a doctor, but I have been around hundreds of people during my recovery, and many hospitals that I've gone in through the years to visit with patients, to help them and inspire them and do what I can to guide them to come back again, of what can be. There still could possibly be hope. And of course, with the medical discoveries that are so new, and regenerative techniques, we don't want to go into all that. Could really much fill into your show as far as the regenerative aspect of neurological functions and cells and all these things that can be restored, that we're getting a better handle on. Yes. There's much you can also do within your life to create that as one incredible connection with your own body to have it restore and regenerate. And these are a lot of things that I did to come back. They said you might walk, you might not. You'll never run again. But of course, I've done a little more than just run again. I've done a lot more to come back and run again. And
of course, by way of training, before you had the terrible accident, you were a college football player. And so you had all that physical training, you had all that.
Yeah.
I use the word muscle memory, which is I do like as a term. I think it's valid. But you had all that training as an athlete for so many years.
Yes.
And then the natural food store, so you have a sense of yourself that the average guy doesn't have. The average guy's busy,
and
working as a carpenter or whatever they're doing.
Right. And I did say that at the beginning. I did have a bit of an edge, if you want to call it that, because of my
No, not
foundation.
an edge so much, but information. Had information.
Well, I had the edge because of my information and my understanding, of the realm of health and wellness.
Right.
And what you could draw, of course, from the universe and various energies, and how you can incorporate, energy into your body to create cellular rejuvenation. And this sort of, I call it cellular inspiration, to have your body believe and bring it within your body to rise again, give your body energy through all sorts of nutrients and supplements. And that's a huge world that we could talk forever about, because it's the industry that I've been in forever, as far as nutrients and their development and where they come from, the raw materials, and how you keep them biologically available to have vibrancy alive within them, and so you can put them in your body to help you, be alive again in the most, raw, natural form as possible. I was doing green drinks in the late 60s, in the 70s. This is anything new as far as raw foods and vibrancy alive.
But now it's more popular.
Enzyme active and whatever. It's something I did so long ago.
Right.
It's new today, but certainly not new for you and I at all.
You and I may have been early adapters. That's all.
Exactly. Well, it's just common sense. Live foods help you become alive. That's kind of ABC 1, 2, 3 direct connect. A dead food, well, you're not going to be too alive.
And did your family who was drinking Coca-Cola, not to cast aspersions on Coca-Cola, when you said that statement just made, would they listen to you in those days? Probably not.
No, not so much. I was just a little kid, but I was really wound up pretty energetic, even though I was very limited with food intake. I was kind of slight in my size, but I was leaning hard, put it that way. But no, I didn't get any influence from my parents. They were just trying to get by. Every day was a challenge in our family. But I wasn't the only family. I don't want to say we had the only family.
No, that's okay. Yeah,
at all. There are so many families and millions of families, and 1 out of 6 people in the United States today go to bed hungry.
Right. Now that, unfortunately,
that's a whole other issue that I fight against. Better school lunches, in the schools. I've been an advocate for that, and so many other things. Spoken on Capitol Hill to this extent to have these things better for our children. And it's really tough when you deal with the corporations and the institutions, and that's a whole other discussion in the politics behind all of that.
No, for sure.
Keep
me a favor. Hold that thought. Let me just take a station of indication. This is Josh Lane, and you're listening to us today on Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. We're going to take a very short break, and then we'll come back with Steve Jennings, so please stay tuned.
Walk, run, climb, play. Solgar number 7 can help. Feel the difference for yourself. Solgar number 7 actually shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Now you can start to get back on track fast and pursue the activities you love. Solgar number 7 is a breakthrough in joint care with no glucosamine and no chondroitin. The advanced bioactives in Solgar number 7 help to increase flexibility, mobility, range of motion, actually shows improvement within just 7 days. One capsule, once a day, is all you need. When stiff joints occasionally say no, Solgar number 7 says yes. Visit Solgar.com and learn more about Solgar number 7 today. That's www.solgar.com, www.solgar.com. Solgar number 7, official sponsors of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane and LA Talk Live.
You know, there must be a reason why United Airlines and Delta Airlines have full flights to Ghana, a country in West Africa where hospitality, history, and business reign supreme. Be sure to get your copy of Let's Go Ghana, a visitor's guide to business opportunities, networking, and tourism. You can contact the Let's Go Africa Foundation at letsgoafrica.org, and Africa is spelled with a K. Visit Amazon.com and get your copy of Let's Go Africa today.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Joshua Lane, and our guest, Steve Jennings, has stayed with us for another segment. Steve has been involved with the natural foods wellness industry profession for a very long time. He was a college ball player, football, had a terrible car accident, and was able to recover from the car accident. This occurred in Europe, and he was told that he would not walk again, but he decided that he would indeed not only walk again, but run again. And then as an older man, managed to compete in a number of athletic events. Was AAU events? What were you competing in?
This is the United States Track and Field Association, the governing body of all things track and field in the United States. They govern our world teams, our Olympic teams, our national teams, and there are divisions within the United States Track and Field Association for masters athletes that to compete in the same things that people compete in the Olympics.
Masters over 40.
Actually, it's over 35, but I think it's a little young myself. 35, you can still compete against open division, people in the Olympics. But so it's 35 and up. But they have 5-year increments where people do compete and they run, they throw, they jump. Everything that you see in the Olympics or at on the college or even high school level, most of them, these same type of events. You run, you jump, you throw, all these you pole vault, you hurdle, all these things that you can do on a very, very high level, even if you're an older athlete, both male and female, within the United States Track and Field Association, within their masters division. And so it's something that I didn't even really know anything about it. I just wanted to walk again, and then I wanted to run again. And so it took me about 14 more years after I learned how to walk to be able to run, where I could actually get my neuromuscular skills and my motor skills back together, where I could actually run. And then I had to, from there I just kept on. And then I heard about, there was this, as you just heard about, you didn't know either. I didn't know that there was a master's division for older athletes to compete on a
I don't think I knew that.
national level against, really strong high-level competition. Because not all these people, now it's just anybody can compete. But what you usually have is you have people, the best performers are people that were former world champions, NCAA champions, stars in college, guys that played in the NFL, were track superstars.
So you have a lot of ringers coming in to compete against you.
We don't call them ringers. They're just who they are. And they're guys that I can mention a lot of names, and some of the people might not know it. I mean, if people know who Willie Gault is, he's a great, college guy. He was a great sprinter, played for the Chicago Bears, Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I mean, I've lined up in the blocks against Willie Gault. James Lofton. James, if you're listening, I'm going to mention your name here. NFL Hall of Fame, wide receiver, in National Football League. I mean, so these are I don't want to, make people think they don't want to be involved in this because you're competing against that kind of people, that kind of elite athlete, but because it's for anybody. And so I would encourage people, to participate in that. But it's something I wanted to be involved with. I just heard about it from some guys. I was just on the track training, just trying to come back and be in shape. And then I just kept on and I kept on and I kept on and I kept on. And it finally got to the level where I thought, well, maybe I could compete against these people, And so if people are familiar with what the decathlon is, it's a 10-event competition. Sort of a, you run, you jump, you throw a discus, you throw a spear, the javelin. You do all this kind of stuff. Well, they have things that are called pentathlons as well, which is a 5-event, sort of a one-day decathlon where you run, you sprint, you throw javelins, throw that spear way out there, you throw a discus, you run 1,500 meters. You do all these various types of events back to back to back to back. And so I compete with the guys that are the multi-event guys, sort of like the decathlon guys. And so you, as I say, you long jump, you run, you jump as far as you can. But all these things you require, you can't just jump out there and do these things. They're very, very highly refined, events that you must learn how to do. Well, some people are natural and can just jump far. But if you really want to do it well, you have to know what you're doing, especially when you compete against guys that, when you go to the national championship, both the men and the women that are competing there are very, they're the best in the United States
Well,
to
on
compete.
throwing a javelin, you had someone coach you on that?
To be fully honest with you, I'm self-taught.
On the javelin?
Yeah.
And how much does the javelin weigh?
This is 700 grams. I throw a 700-gram javelin. So it's...
what are they made of?
It's made out of an alloy, kind of like aluminum, and it has a certain type of tip about it and a very weight balance about it. It's not the same weight from end to end. How you direct its flight. So there's a lot of engineering, so to speak, that goes on.
Oh, definitely.
To it, how you do everything.
How far can you throw a javelin?
Well, I throw it about 40 meters.
And how far is
but that's
the
not
greatest champion?
That's not the best.
How far? What's the best?
Well, you understand. In the world, well, my God, they're throwing it maybe twice that far. Okay, but
really,
but that's the Olympics. Okay,
Yeah.
These kind of guys. All right, but or maybe that's the best. But usually they're throwing in the 70s or something like that, somewhere in that range. Maybe beneath that, but we're talking world-class people.
That sounds like an ancient sport, throwing a javelin, doesn't it?
Well, it's very Greek, and that's why, and throwing the discus as well. But first of all, you must understand, in the event that I compete in, and I don't just compete in one event. My event is a multiple event, and so I do all of them. So it's sort of a jack of all trades. You just have to be pretty good. You don't have to be the best in that event. You just have to be the guy that's maybe one of the best of putting them all together. When you long jump and when you sprint and when you throw a javelin and when you throw a discus and you run this grueling event, which is a 1,500 meter, at the very, very final event, which is sort of gut check time, that one's pretty tough. It's like a metric mile. And so you have to do all these things together. So it's really strength, speed, athleticism, endurance, kind of all woven into one. It's sort of an all-in-one type thing that you have to do to pull this off. But I've been there, and I've been inspired by a lot of great people that have been around, a lot of success stories there. A lot of the women are great. These people are the true anti-agers. I hear a lot about anti-aging, and I thought, well, goodness gracious, I'm looking at the anti-agers right here. These people that are 40, they're 50, they're 60, 70, 80. There's a guy named Leland McPhee. He's in his 90s. I mean, what he does is phenomenal. He's a multi-event guy like myself. Does all the events, but the women that are there are incredible.
And this guy's still doing events in his 90s.
Oh yeah,
good for him.
Good. There are guys in their 70s that are women too, that are so flexible or so lean and so athletic, and you would never have any idea that these people are in their 70s. They look fantastic. They can run, jump, throw. Their flexibility, movement, motor skills are out of this world, and so I see those people. I say, well. I mean, my age is 58 today as we record. I'm sort of
a young guy.
Yeah, I'm a young pup compared to those folks. And so there are 5-year increments. I'll go into the 60 to 64 group, and then the 65 to 69, and then they just go on up all the way to 100 or beyond. and they compete worldwide in this event. It's just not the United States. There's world championships that also happen in this. And so I see the true anti-agers, people trying to, be anti-aging and be involved in it. It's like I'm looking at them. I see these people out here.
Right.
And so if you really want to be young, you take up that type of sport.
I think so too.
It's amazing.
Athletics is really a big component.
Yeah, athletics is what we call the worldwide. Track and field is called athletics.
Right.
That's you mentioned the world term for track and field is athletics, is what they call it. And I see some tremendous people out there. And
let me say this too. The whole concept of like being physically fit by being active, whatever sport or sports you enjoy.
Yeah.
There's a concept that I think many of us know is a great idea, but I would say in 1965 the average person didn't really think that way. I mean, maybe even in 1975 they didn't. It's a much later concept now that many Americans, even the Americans who don't necessarily do it, think, oh yeah, I should be more physically fit by being active. And that's a concept that people kind of agree to. Yeah, we know that's a good idea.
Well, you had calisthenics and you had certain fitness things and freehand movements. You had this all out of the, turn of the century in 1900.
Yeah, but very few folks were doing it.
There was just, the strong men and people had the health, physical enthusiasts and things like that. But you had the aerobics boom that actually began in the 60s.
Right.
And that really started things moving. And then you had these marathons and people got into aerobics. Well, aerobics is okay. And it's helped a lot of people for sure. It's got them moving.
Right.
But in the 70s, I noticed that it sort of had a certain effect on your body as well.
It's sort injury, you mean?
Well, it sort of wore you down and beat you down a little bit. And it seemed like the quicker, higher intensity movements that I recognized back then, more of the sprinting and the resistance movements, maybe lifting some weights wisely, appropriately, not just clanking iron and just building big muscles for nothing, but to do it for...
Well, you get a big chest and arms.
Well, that's good. Yeah, well, some people might like that. It's okay, but functional muscles...
Posing for pictures.
I believe in functional muscle. Muscle that you can actually do something with. Pick up your kids.
Well, pick up girls.
Pick up your girls if you want. Put them on one on each arm or something like that. But, pick up your groceries. Do things in life. Get up out of a chair.
Right.
Because when you're 60 or 70 or 80, sometimes it's not easy getting out of a chair.
Oh, no, it's not.
But if you have functional muscle and you're fluid and you have flexibility and strength because you're moving your body,
by the way,
not just doing aerobics. Aerobics is okay, but it's not just aerobics
right, I got you.
At all.
Let me just mention this famous name from our era, Joe Namath, the quarterback. I heard him do an interview once, which he talked about. He said he was a very good baseball player, too, besides being a good football player. And he said if he could have done it over again, he would have played baseball professionally rather than football, because he said he had so many injuries. He said sometimes he'll be sitting in a chair and he wants to get up, but his knees don't want to get up.
Right.
So he was putting a good face on it. He was making a little joke. But he was telling you, hey, my body's not cooperating, and it's just drag.
He had numerous well-documented injuries in his knees while he was in the NFL. He wore those braces, those big bulky braces, back in the late 60s and early 70s. So it was pretty evident that Joe Namath had problems with his knees. But they had different type of rules back then where you kind of hit the quarterback. Today, the quarterback is well protected, very well protected. You almost can't. It's like you play a little touch game with the quarterback. Right. A lot of times you can hit him, but it's not the same. Football's a little different today. It's not quite as rough and tough as it used to be.
You think it's better?
That's another political topic, actually. As far as do I think it's better? It's
as a former college ball player.
It's a real balance. They've taken a lot of toughness out of the game, but you don't want undue injury.
Right. No, you don't.
If you can legislate or rule out certain things that could cause injury, yeah, let's do what we can. But the NFL has a competition committee where they think about these things a lot because it's also entertainment.
Yes, it is.
Value for the gladiators on the field.
Yes, it is. They are.
Very important. We have the entertainment value here. These are our stars. These are our gladiators today in our stadiums, where people get very excited.
I completely agree.
And so we can't just move out the toughness of the game either. So it's a real balance that they have to establish. I believe that you want things safe so people won't get hurt. But people are bigger today. Things are moving faster and harder.
They're much bigger, aren't they?
A lot more force, a lot more contact, a lot more potential for injury because of that force, meeting those immovable forces, so to speak. So you can get hurt. That's a little different today as well.
300-pound guys slamming into each other.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of room for injury there. Amazing injury for those.
Well, you had 250-pound guys doing it a long time ago. But
there was a lot of injury then, too.
Yeah, really bad. But it's always such a balance of all of that. But again, I keep talking of the word balance, and that's so much of life as it is anyway. Finding that balance with anything, whether it's on the football field, how they're going to be tough and legislate, the toughness out of it, allow still people to be tough, protect a quarterback, not have injury, or have balance, in your life so that you can create wellness and health in your life too.
Right.
And so you can be successful and you can overcome the odds. And I come back to that. This whole thing about, I haven't mentioned it a whole lot, but this, this believing in yourself, this incredible belief that you've got to have, that you can overcome, and not get bogged down in, everything that's against you. You've got to believe what can be, and don't get so heavy into self-pity. I will say this, there was a woman that I heard about when I was a little kid. Her name was Helen Keller. Mm-hmm. And my mother told me about her. Everything that was so much against her. Imagine Helen Keller. She was blind.
Right.
She couldn't hear. She was closed off in darkness, couldn't see.
Right.
And she said, well, if Helen Keller could do it, what could we do? What could we become?
Right.
We had a lot more than she had.
So your mom told you this when you were a kid?
Yeah.
So you were lucky that your mom was aware of this, as opposed to maybe your mom just staying at home crying all day.
Right.
No, seriously, I'm
yeah.
trying,
No, that's
so
true.
You had a foundation. Your mom,
yeah,
certainly an important person in your life,
incredible,
who told you these
person.
stories.
Incredible person.
So you kind of think, oh, okay, I could do that. Because if your mom didn't tell you, you just think, no, my mom's crying all day, and that's the way it is. And then you go out inside and do sniff glue or something, or
which I saw a lot of that happening around
for sure.
me.
A lot. Absolutely. I'm from the same era, so I remember. So if you don't know, you fall into some bad stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to get so much into self-pity, but she would not let self-pity. You see, that's the death of a lot of people.
It could be.
It really can be if you get, if it can just strangle you into self-pity, where you believe that, well, everything is so bad and oh, woe is me. Now, I know people are hurt and they're down,
right,
and they have great odds against them, and they need encouragement and they need help, they need care. But at the same time, you've got to do what you can do. And if it's only one thing you can do, and this is from Helen Keller, just do the thing that you can do. That's not the exact quote. I've got a quote by Helen Keller in my wallet right now that I keep with me, that I kept.
Oh, Helen Keller's been an influence on you?
For so many years, yes.
Wow.
That I kept in my wallet, through all those years of my comeback, And so I wasn't, I knew how bad a lot of people had it, and I had a chance. And so I wasn't going to get bogged down in how bad my situation was, when I was, in darkness, without really any direction, like not really much hope. Because see, doctors they don't want to give you a lot of hope.
They don't seem to want to.
Well, they don't want to fill you with hope of a dream that can never be.
Right.
And so, well, what can be? And so I believed, and so through my belief, I developed my hope, my own hope. It was through my belief. When there's no hope, well, we grew up in an era where we heard, well, without hope, all is lost.
Right.
And it's like, well, where's my hope? People got to believe there's hope. Well, you better believe that you can make something out of nothing, find a way out of no way. That's called finding a way. Mm-hmm. And also, the state of faith allows no mention of impossibility. And that's something that I always held by me so close in my heart. Because if you have faith from many different areas,
right,
where you could draw faith into your life,
right,
if you have that, that'll give you strength. And there's no room for impossibility. And the impossible can be made possible. And I saw so many people, so many examples around me doing it, trying it. And so I had no room to say, oh my God, I can't walk. My legs don't work. I'm hurt so bad. What am I going to do? I didn't have time to feel bad. I saw people that were in wheelchairs that were never getting out of those wheelchairs, and they didn't have limbs. And I say they were blind. They were, just maimed, shredded. I was going to feel sorry for myself? No way. I was lucky that I had a chance. And so I made the most of that chance.
Right.
And so you take one step, and then you take another step. And I learned that you never give up, because if you don't give up, you might be just one step away from, what I say? I'm getting a little emotional here. But literally, you might be just one step from another victory.
Right.
And if you could just take another step, if you just do it, then you'll be able to go on another step. But you see, a lot of times, people, they quit too soon.
Right.
And if you quit too soon, well, I mean, there's a lot of people say, well, there's a time to be quitting. Well, you never quit. If you're breathing, if your mind can function, even if you can't, be out there thinking, consciously communicating with people, I guarantee you, I know that even if you're unconscious and you can't verbally communicate, you're still alive. I've been there. And so you don't give up.
Right.
And so you got to face your fears. You got to honor your body. You've got to, how can I say, you got to be authentic. You got to be the real you. It's very, very, very important. You can't, be something you're not. You got to let people know it. That's why I'm kind of no BS a lot of times. I haven't been so strong on our call today, on our discussion today. But you never give up and you fight for your dreams. And if you know what you want, you know what you're fighting for.
Right.
You see? And then you're going to get there. And so a lot of people, they just need to understand fundamental things. But as I say, in the programs that I have, in the book I have coming out.
What's that book again?
It's Your Invincible Life Warrior Within.
Steve Jennings.
The Power of Never Giving Up.
And when was that coming out? Like 6 months?
Oh, hopefully within that. But if you go on my site, you'll learn more about it. But right now, within the next week or two from today's interview,
30th,
I'll be having a incredible program that'll be available to take people right through empowering their lives in a different way. It's not.
Well, how can I get that? Tell me.
Just go to stevejennings.com, and if they just put in their email address, they'll be on the list. And as soon as it's available, which it should be real soon, they'll be able to get an incredible life empowerment program on how to overcome the odds and achieve. And of course, this isn't just wellness. It's certainly wellness, but it's also in their life. And it gives them action plans and strategies and things that they tangibly can do, and get a real action plan of my life. How do you succeed? You see, I've worked with so many businesses. Strategically, I've seen how to do it in the business world, and I've seen it in the life world. Working with so many people in their lives as a personal improvement, coach, wellness, so to speak. For years, for over, we're almost over 30 years now. So I've been doing this a long time. It isn't something I just read about in a book or went to a seminar or heard it on a CD or something like that or a DVD. It's been my life. I've been in the trenches. It's what I do. I'm in the life changer business. I'm in the results business. That's my passion. That's my purpose. That's my passion. It's what I do. And I get right to the point to a lot of things to help people do this. And so you, Josh, from all the areas that you come from as far as wellness, and wellness is a very broad area of wellness. It comes from, it's the collective that you bring into your life, where you strengthen your life and how you bounce back and overcome and become unsinkable, unbreakable, so to speak. You have to bend a little bit.
All the wellness stuff, when I was a young man, when I bumped into it, it just made sense to me. And before it made sense to me, I was busy drinking lots of Coca-Cola. I drank a ton of Coca-Cola before I realized that's a bad idea. I drank a ton of, I didn't know. My mom gave it to me, dad gave it to me. Whether they gave me, I ate, I drank, no problem. You gave it to me, I ate it. And then when I realized it was a bad idea, I just stopped and that was it. And I was just enormous good fortune. The whole natural foods thing, as far as I can think, was just enormous good fortune. Because
you better believe it.
Otherwise, at my age, if I was just a convention leader, I'd probably be a big, fat, sick guy.
Well, you have such a long history. Of course, we've spoken prior to today. And your long, valued history.
I lucked out here. I just
in this industry.
I love this subject. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know.
I thought this made sense to me. Immediately, I thought, oh my God, this is great. Who knew? Frankly.
No, I know. And I really enjoyed just talking to you prior to today, as we met.
Sure.
About all the ins and outs and about wellness and what it really incorporates into one's life. But that comes down to just honoring thy body. It sounds kind of religious, so to speak. But if you honor if you honor your body, now how do you do that? Well, there's many ways of wellness that are out there, and many schools of thought. But we've seen so much through the years, because we studied back some of the earliest writings at the turn of like the century of the 1900s on up, we studied that. Okay.
You mean Arnold Ehret?
Arnold Ehret. Well, Arnold was the 1800s.
Well, he was great. Yeah.
The Grape Cure, Arnold Ehret. I loved his stuff.
Sylvester Graham.
Yeah, all that.
Graham Crackers. Oh yeah, sure. That's amazing. You read all those guys, and I thought these guys are great.
All those guys back in the day. So
but Arnold Ehret was great.
I liked Arnold.
People still read Arnold Ehret, I think, as a matter of fact.
The Grape Cure. It purifies body, detoxify your body. It made a lot of sense. And all the various remedies of all the natural remedies to heal, all the various poultices,
right.
That he would utilize, and so many other, the great healers that back then it was natural medicine.
Right.
And then we could talk about the pharmaceutical companies, how they just took over things, and everything, and that's a whole other issue.
Sure.
And of course, I do know, as so many of your guests do understand, today's medicine does have a place.
It does.
For emergency medicine, which
you're great.
And first initial aid medicine, which is about 15% of medicine, but about a good 85% of medicine is not that. And that's where...
I think that's a fair number.
That's a fair number. I mean, you know this. I'm glad you concur with that.
Yeah.
This is where people really... That's where wellness is in your own hands. But most people don't really know how to take care of themselves. And so they're in the hands of, the medicine world that we know it today, the pharmaceutical world, and the doctor world we have in today, which do have value and benefit to save lives.
Right.
There's absolutely no question about that, and we need it. My life was saved.
Right.
When I had no heartbeat, no respiratory function, I'm all for it. But as far as beyond that, as far as empowering a life to be strong, vibrant, and alive, you've got to take your health back into your own hands. And that's personal responsibility. That's one of the first things I talked about. But a lot of people they're confused. They don't know how. And Pablo Arola, as you mentioned him earlier, he was so good in organizing people to get on the track of wellness.
He was so important to me as a young man.
I know. That's why I mentioned his name.
Shelton. Actually,
Herbert Shelton.
We're starting to run out of time.
Yeah.
Steve Jennings, how can we get in contact with you? Give us your contact info once again.
Okay, one more time. Yeah. I love all the topics we're talking about. It's just right up our alley.
Yeah, it's fun.
So much. But it is, go to stevejennings.com. That's stevejennings.com. And you could learn a lot more. And if you are interested in the upcoming book, or if you're interested in the incredible empowerment program that also deals very much aligned with the book, you just give your email address. You'll be on the list. You'll be the first to know, and you can be able to access that and get it. It'd be outstanding and instrumental in so many people's lives if they did that. It really gets them on track from a perspective that's different from personal development and personal improvement from a different way than what we normally hear it. And of course, I bring the aspects of the realm of wellness and health and really empowering your life. I bring that all into it. It's all interwoven into the collective to really be your best self, overcome the odds, never quit, never give up, and live the life of your dreams.
Well, thank you, Steve Jennings. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you for being a guest. I'd like to thank my listeners for tuning in today to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Radio Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane, and we'll be back next week. Thank you very much.
For more information about the guests and sponsors of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, please call us at 818-707-0005.